17th, 9 AD, in Italy. His son has the exact Titus Flavius Vespasianus was born on November 17th, 9 AD, in Italy. His son has the exact same name as him. He has another son named Domitian. Both of his sons were the Emperor of Rome following his death. He died in the year 79 AD. He was High Priest of Rome, also known as Pontifex Maximus, which is now the Pope. He founded the Flavian dynasty. Constantine, who made Christianity the state religion of Rome, took on the name Flavius as well. Vespasian was the first emperor from an equestrian family and only rose into the senatorial ranks as the first member of his family later in his lifetime. Vespasian's renown came from his military success. He was legate legio to Augusta during the Roman invasion of Britain in 43 and subjugated Judea during the Jewish rebellion in 66 under Nero. One time during Nero's reign, Nero was having a concert where he was putting on a show and being the singer and actor. And he was on his show for hours. He would do this. He would have these psychopathic moments where he would try to impress everybody. Vespasian started to nod off because he was bored. He was trying to fall asleep. Would have been dead on the spot. Because Vespasian was the highest ranking military leader, and he needed Vespasian to run the army and to go in Judea, he couldn't do anything about it. So instead, he made him leave Rome. After all, Vespasian subdued all of Gaul and most of northern Africa with the help of Nerva. So Nero couldn't do anything about Vespasian, even if he wanted to. Sure enough, the eastern part of the empire is starting to fall into war. The Judeans are revolting, so are the Syrians and the Galileans, and Vespasian is called out of exile to go and subdue the Jews. So Vespasian and his son Titus go and subdue Syria and Galilee. And just as Vespasian is going to make his way down to Jerusalem, he gets a letter from a Jew living in Jerusalem named Johanan, who's the high priest of the Jews. Now Johanan wants to meet him and talk to him and discuss plans and make a deal, in which Vespasian agrees. So Johanan has to sneak out of Jerusalem. The Sicarii were controlling Israel at this time, especially Jerusalem, and they were definitely controlling Egypt too. The high priest couldn't even do anything or go anywhere without hearing from them first. And all the problems that are happening are because of these Sicarii. The Sicarii are these Jewish rebels, extremely fundamentalists religiously, and they think that it's Messiah's coming and the Messiah is going to save them from Rome. Israel's going to establish the kingdom of heaven. And the high priest Johanan is more of a moderate when it comes to his ideas. He knows this is all wacky. And he knows that all these problems that are stemming from these Sicarii could be squashed if he makes a deal with Vespasian. Nero has already been assassinated. Galba has already taken over. He's been assassinated. Otho also has been assassinated. 3 emperors are now down. And we have a 4th emperor now, Vitellius, who is emperor of Rome. And that makes Vespasian the next in line to be emperor. But he doesn't think anything of it. He's just going to do what he's told and be the military commander that he's supposed to be. So here we got the Talmud. It gives us a brief description of the meeting between Vespasian and high priest Johanan. So he goes and meets Johanan. He's got his son there. And Johanan has to sneak out of Israel. He has to pretend he's a dead body. So in the 3rd order of Nashim, in the 6th tractate called Gizon, there's an interesting verse from Rabbi Yohanan where he talks about Nero and says that he shot an arrow in every direction, north, south, east, west, and every time the arrow landed, it pointed towards Jerusalem. And they were basically saying this was some sort of prophecy of the fall of Jerusalem. Fast forward a little bit, Nero's dead. Three emperors later, Vespasian is about to siege. He's got his son Titus with him. He's got armies from Galilee with him. There were zealots in the city, also known as the Sicarii. So the rabbis said, let us make peace with the Romans. And the zealots wouldn't let them. Rather, they say, let us make war against them. The rabbi said, it will not work. So the zealots went and set fire to the stores of wheat and barley, causing a famine. The father of Sicarii, leader of the zealots, was the son of Rabban Yohan ben Zakki's sister. Johanan sent for him to come in secret. When he arrived, Johanan said to him, How long are you going to carry on like this and kill everyone by famine? Father Zachary replied, what can I do? If I say anything, my followers will kill me. Yohanan said, if only I can get out of Jerusalem, I might be able to have something, to save something. Father Zachary said, put about a rumor that you are sick, and let people come and inquire about you. Then fetch some decaying material, spread it over you, have it say that you have died. Let your disciples carry you, but no one else, since they might notice that a living body is lighter than a corpse. He did so. Rabbi Eliezer bore him on one side, and Rabbi Joshua on the other. When they arrived at the gate, the zealots on guard wanted to pierce the buyer with a sword. The disciples objected. The Romans will say they pierced their master. The zealots then wanted to jostle the buyer. The disciples objected. The Romans will say they jostled the master. They opened the gate. The plan worked. When Rabbi Yohanan arrived in Vespasian's presence, he said, hail, O king, hail, O king. Vespasian said, you are deserving of death on 2 counts. First, I am not the king, and you have addressed me as king. Second, if I were the king, why did you not come and pay your respects earlier? The typical Roman emperor psychopath. So Yohanan says, you say that you are not king, but you certainly are king. For if you were not king, Jerusalem could fall into your hands, as it is written. The Lebanon shall fall by a mighty one, Isaiah 10:34. A mighty one implies a king, as it is written. His mighty one shall be of his own, Jeremiah 31. Lebanon refers to the temple, as it is written, the good mountain and the Lebanon, Deuteronomy 3:25. As to your asking if you were king, why did I not come and pay my respects earlier? That is because the zealots among us would not let me come until now. So Vespasian is kind of sitting there thinking deeply of how to respond to this. He's the wise. He wants to, he's trying to show these Jews. He knows these Jews are wise. He's read the scripture. He has the Greek Septuagint. He actually is very fond of them, by the way. Based on other historians' accounts, Vespasian is in love with the Jewish lore. So he says, if you had a barrel of honey and a snake was after it, would you not smash the barrel and get rid of the snake? Rabbi Yohanan fell silent. Rabbi Yosef, or perhaps Rabbi Akiva, commented, who turns sages back and make nonsense of their knowledge? Isaiah 44. He should have said, we fetch tongs, seize the snake and kill it, and leave the barrel unharmed. Meanwhile, at this very moment, this is where shit gets crazy. A messenger came from Rome and said, arise, Caesar is dead, and the great men of Rome want to make you leader. It was at that exact moment when Vespasian got the news that he is now the Caesar of Rome, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the King of the world. Vespasian has all power to do whatever he wants at that moment while he's talking to Rabbi John. So Vespasian had put on one boot. He wanted to put the other one on, but it wouldn't fit. He tried to remove the first, but it wouldn't come off. He said, what is going on? Yohanan said, don't worry. You have received good news, as it is written. Good news puts on fat on the bones. Proverbs 15:30. The word in Greek used here would be evangelion, good news. Vespasian says, so what should I do? Yohanan says, bring someone you dislike and let him pass before you, as it is written. Despondency dries up the bones. Proverbs 17:22. Vespasian did as advised, and it worked. Vespasian, as you are so clever, why did you not come to me until now? Yohanan says, didn't I tell you? Vespasian says, and didn't I tell you? Anyway, I am leaving now, and I will send someone else to continue the siege. My only son, Titus Flavius Vespasian, the same name as me, who's coming in the name of his father, who sent him. What would you like me to grant? Yohanan says, give me Yahweh and its sages, spare the family of Rabbi Gamaliel, and provide doctors of Rabbi Zadok. Interesting enough, Rabbi Gamaliel is supposed to be the teacher of Paul, which I think is very interesting, that this is all kind of ties itself into each other. It makes it super compelling, this whole story right here. Because all of these prophecies that they're saying are for Vespasian, later on Christians say are for Jesus Christ. But here, in the moment, these rabbis are saying that these prophecies are for Vespasian, whose son takes on the will of his father and inherits the kingdom. So this was some sort of divine moment for Vespasian, and he kind of looks at the Jews now as important prophets. And I think this made him more aware of who the presence of the Jews are I think it made him inquire more into their scripture. And he takes Josephus as a slave and brings him back to Rome. He tells Josephus that I want the Jewish history, I want your history of the world to replace the Greek history of the world. So no longer is Solon and Minos the lawgivers. No longer is Kronos the Father God. But no, it is the Elohim, Jehovah, who is the Father God now. And it was also in the same exact time period where the Oracle of Delphi proclaimed that the great Pan is dead, which is Jupiter. So now we're seeing the Roman imperial cult starting to adopt these foreign deities with Mithra, but Serapis is becoming the chief deity of the Romans, of the Roman imperial cult. Serapis and Isis. Serapis is Osiris and Apis, the bull, combined into one god. He's an amalgamation of many gods. He actually was invented under successors of Alexander the Great, who identified him as Father Liber or Pater Liber. And Alexander the Great was actually, his tomb was actually in the house of Serapis in Egypt. So right after this happened, Titus takes over the role of his father, and he's the one who lays siege on Jerusalem, does what his father's will. But Vespasian goes to Egypt before he goes back to Rome. This is what happens in Egypt. During the next month, Vespasian spent at Alexandria, waiting for the regular season of the summer winds to ensure a safe voyage back to Rome. There occurred many miraculous events, manifesting the goodwill of heaven and a certain favor of providence towards him. At Alexandria, a commoner whose eyes were well known to have wasted away on the advice of Serapis, who the superstitious people, known as the Christians, worship as their chief god, fell at Vespasian's feet, demanding the sobs of a cure for his blindness, and imploring that the emperor would deign to moisten his eyes and eyeballs with the spittle from his mouth. Another man, maimed hand, also inspired by Serapis, besought Vespasian to imprint his footmark on it. So these people who are later actually identified as Christians, according to the Augusta, they have so much faith in Serapis, who they think that Vespasian is the Messiah of Serapis, the mediator between Serapis and the men. He's the son of man in a way. So they have all this, they have so much faith that they think that Vespasian can heal their blindness and sickness. And some of them actually, he was successful. At first, Vespasian laughed at them and refused, but they insisted. He half feared a reputation for gullibility, but was half moved to hope by their petition and their flattery of his courtiers. He eventually told the doctors to form an opinion whether such cases of blindness and deformity could be remedied by human aid. The doctor discussed the question. This might be the will of heaven, and the emperor had perhaps been chosen to be the divine instrument. This convinced Vespasian that there was no limits to his destiny. Nothing now seemed incredible. To the great excitement of the bystanders, he stepped forward with a smile on his face and did as the men desired him. Immediately the hand recovered its function, and daylight shone once more in the blind man's eyes. Those who were present still attest both miracles today, when there is nothing to gain by lying. This occurrence deepened Vespasian's desire to visit the holy place and consult Serapis about the fortunes of the empire. He gave orders that no one else to be allowed in the temple, and went in. While absorbed in the devotions, he saw behind him an Egyptian noble named Basilides, who he knew to be lying ill several days' journey from Alexandria. He inquired of the priest whether Basilides had entered the temple that day. He inquired of everyone he met whether he had been seen in the city. Eventually, he sent some horsemen who discovered that the time Basilides had been 80 miles away. Vespasian therefore took what he had seen for a divine apparition, and from the name Basilides deduced the tenor of the oracle's response. The origins of the god Serapis have not been conveyed in any authorities. The priests of Egypt give the following account of King Ptolemy, first of the Macedonians under Alexander the Great. So there you have it. Vespasian, who is told by the Jews that he's the coming Messiah. He's going to save Jerusalem from the evil, wicked Sicarii. It's sort of an inverse of the New Testament. because in the New Testament, it's the zealots who are against the Pharisees, and they sort of in a weird way welcome the Romans to take down the temple. So there's definitely some connections here, and it's something I'm going to further investigate. Titus Caesar ends up fulfilling all that is prophesied about the fall of the temple. His brother also is emperor for a few years after that, and then later on, Constantine takes on the Flavian name, and he's the one who establishes Christianity as the state religion. Later on, Vespasian and Titus have a triumph in Rome, where they show the menorah, the tabernacle, and they show it off as the prize of the war against Judea.
I want to tell you a story.
I used to believe that Jesus was a Catholic God of the Gentiles.
I imagined that Jesus was Italian.
The New Testament was one of those books that I saw nuns reading on the subway.
I was expecting to find a handbook on how to persecute the Jews. I'm reading a story written by Jews about Jewish people.
One thing you don't do is you don't talk about Jesus.
I'm gonna get ostracized. They're gonna think I'm crazy. And
are you out of your mind? You're not Jewish anymore.
Absolutely not. Do not look into this.
You are a traitor to your people. Jesus.
Mic check, mic check. 1 2 1 2. Can I be heard? Can I be heard? Ooh wee, family, it's cooking. It's cooking up in this deal. It is cooking. Oh wait, History versus Literature Part 3. Y'all see the title, Nazarene Edition Part 106. History versus Literature Part 3. Romans, Herodians, and Judean sects, boy. Oh wait, you put the history on it, it's a whole new game. You start seeing the game that's being played on the minds of the people. Shout out to the creative gang in the building. Shout out to my Nazarite brothers in the building, my Essene brothers and sisters in the building. Bless up, bless up. All praise to the Most High, the Creator. And I ain't talking about no nigga nowhere. What I'm talking about is ever present. He's everywhere. The all in all, the ever present, the always was, is, and ever shall be. The mighty Creator, the great Spirit, Yahweh. If that's what you're talking about, then I salute you in the name of the Creator. Bless up, bless up, bless up. Good to see y'all in the building. Yeah. YHWH'S, the DC sniper in the building. Bless up, King. What's the word? I see you. Samaria Roel, our beloved sister. Y'all need to send up massive prayers for our beloved sister right there. Our sister Samaria Roel. Massive prayers of healing for our sister. We need to go ahead and get her healed. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. Sister, we definitely praying for you, your family, your children, your grandchildren, all of the above. Believe that, know that. You got a family here. You understand? And rejoice and believe. Whatever you decide to put your mind on, that's what the outcome is going to be. So if you talk to me, don't be surprised. And I just be, I refuse to let you stay down. You know what I mean? Nah. Get on up. We might as well believe. You dig? And press and look and press forward with a massive healing, calling an earth strike. You understand? So a massive healing vortex or massive healing vortices upon you and your entire mind, body, and spirit, my sister, from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet, in the name of the Creator, we send forth a massive healing vortex. And may it permeate every square inch of your body, from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet. Bless up, rejoice, and believe. And when you come out on the other side of this, we gonna laugh. We gonna rejoice. You understand? Believe that, know that. Bless up, bless up. You got family here. My brother Yehudah Israel, let's get it. Bless up. My beloved elder sister down in Flow Rider, Mahaya Yashar'al. Bless up. That's the sister that check y'all every once in a while. She'll hit me in the inbox like, what's going on? Ain't seen you in a minute. One of them hard ox. I'm like, sis, it's all good. I just been grinding. I just been grinding. Good to see you in the building. Bless up. My brother Eliyahu. Elijah 7 in the building. Bless up. Cal P. My brother Cosmo and Cal TV. Y'all go like, subscribe, share. You know what I mean? Create a gang in the building. That's right, my brother. Bless up, brother. I know you found that information interesting, Cal P. You got an analytical mind. You dig? Nazarene sing faith is in the building. Ptolemy's work. Yeah, buddy. Dreadful Cosmon, my Cali brother. Bless up. Who we got? Yaori Ben Israel. Peace. Shalom. Not sorry, Yahoo 777 CGG created gang in the building. Bless up, Abraham C. Mally, when you gonna do some more music, man? Soon. I got a lot on my chest to get off too. So yeah. You know it's gonna be spirit led, brother. Don't worry about it. I'll let you know exactly when I drop. All right. Lion of Yah in the building. Bless up. That was me commenting. I told y'all to sell out survived. Them niggas was sellouts, man. Nah. Them niggas was sellouts, man. You dig? And there's a lot of crazy, underhanded madness going on. There's an excellent documentary, too, out there called Caesar's Messiah. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of these Flavians. You're going to keep bumping into them. Because remember, this thing had to be financed like some way, somehow, some way. You know what I mean? You're going to keep running to the Flavians. The Flavians was the ones that put up the amphitheater in Rome. You know where the gladiators were fighting at? That was built with the spoils from Jerusalem. Yeah. You know, the Arch of Titus and all that. You feel me? But then you had, see, what we're going to read today is going to show how, you either had those that was riding with Rome, and then you had those of us who what? So I know we'd be like, man, it was a whole bunch of different sects that believe this. Look, put yourself back in a war zone like Beirut, Lebanon, or something. It don't matter if you identify as that, or that. You dig? War is a reality. War is a reality in a situation like that. So either you was with those bombing us or you what? That's all it really came down to. I mean, there's a few different beliefs here and there, but for the most part, you know, the ones that got up out of Jerusalem and was out in the desert, living in communities and preparing for the apocalypse, preparing for the impending war that was coming from these jackboot Romans. You understand? They was radical, whether they was physically radical or they were spiritually radical, but they was not conformist. They didn't conform to none of that. What survived painted everybody who didn't roll with them is like the rebel rousers and all that. That ain't the truth. That was a messianic war. We gonna show. Like, so I played that documentary. Matter of fact, let me show that in the link. I played that documentary to show, like, they saying that now. They letting you know, like, look, Rome did something major, you dig? And really, it was to destroy the revolutionary spirit of the bros that wasn't rocking with none of that. They wasn't rocking with none of that. You know what I mean? Here the link is right here, y'all. And then I'm going to go find a coin, too. We got coins, you know, brother. See, and that's how you know no revolution here ever work. If that didn't work for them, no revolution here ever worked. Because whose money you gonna fund your revolution with, Jack? Whose money? Oh, you mean you got to go to the very same people you at war with to get a loan to get weapons? And what war you finna win? See, them bros coin. Look, they were so down, they refused to even use the Roman coins. They minted their own money. And guess what they put on it? For the liberation of Zion. Yeah. What you got, y'all, is anti revolutionary spirit type. Like, you know what I mean? And again, a lot of them brothers, their common enemy were the Romans. That's just what it was. Now, regardless if you was more physically radical than me, one thing's for sure, two things for certain. We ain't bowing to Caesar. We ain't conforming to what's going on here. So whether you was more of a pacifist scene, really wasn't into the, you know, you dig, or you was more of a Sakari zealot, like, look, we'll cut your throat around here. Think we about to, you know, bow down and just submit to this. We're not finna do that. We're not about to wake up and look at a naked statue of Caesar in the temple. It's just not about to ride like that. You see, that's what's going on here, man. That's what's going on here. So I see y'all in the building. Good to see y'all. Bless up, bless up, bless up. All right, my brother Bezel in the building. Bless up, Cosmon Cal, Abraham Seed. Once again, bless up. I see y'all. Abundant blessings and peace to the fam. Believe that, know that. Bang, that's the link right there to what we just watched. Watch that, you know, and study it with a grain of salt. You know how it is. All right, so let me pull up some of this real quick. Please forgive your brother. You know how it is. All right, what y'all got going today? I know the what they call it, the Super Bowl. Drink some of this smoke. I know the Super Bowl supposed to crack later on today. What y'all got? I think Philly gonna give them that work. Ain't that crazy? Here I go talking about Coliseum sports. Man. I told y'all, look, we all victims of that war in some way, shape, form, or fashion from 2,000 years ago. We all victims of that, man. You know, it's embedded in us now. It's crazy. Now, let me pull this up real quick, family. Pull this up so we can read. Y'all know what we've been reading from. I got to pull up some more of these slides real quick. Prince Yehuda in the building. Levi, get her done. Yeah, y'all right. I think Philly gonna do it too. I think Philly gonna do it. Yeah. All right. Hold on. Let me pull this up. Pull the tags up on him. And then we gonna work. That's what we here to do. Y'all not here to hear us exchange fancy and smooth soliloquies. You dig? We here to work. That's what we finna do. All right. Here we go right here. 1, 2. What 2 at me? Oh, they hate. Little joke is tripping upstairs. Hold on, fam. Open this over there. And we gonna work. We gonna get it done. All right. Let's pull that up. I know I got part 2. One second. Dealing with some of this history, boy. It makes say, man, Ak. We get you with the hard Ak, boy. Ak. Hey, Ak, you going off, Ak, man. Going off. Man, I didn't get to it. Tripping. Okay, so I got that up. Yeah, I gotta pull 2 up. Hold on, fam. I got you. Yeah, brother, we about to cook in 1 second. Yeah, man, real spill though. But that's crazy. That rabbi that ran up out of there and got into Vespasian's so-called presence. You dig? What you have today is rabbinical Judaism is a byproduct of that. Would be no rabbinical Judaism. So with the Judaism that everybody worships or has today is a polar opposite to, if you want to use the word Judaism, right? It's a polar opposite to what the Essenes was doing in the wilderness. Out there in the desert. You understand? It's a polar opposite. Polar opposite, you know what I mean? And that's what don't nobody really want to talk about. They really don't want to talk about that. All right, because they already know. They already know it's a problem. Okay, that's 3, 13. Yeah, 13. All right, so yeah, so it's a problem. So the whole thing been to stifle that revolutionary spirit the whole time. That's what this whole thing been about. Keep you docile and passive and being more of someone that's compromising. You know what I mean? With the establishment. Like I say, even if you wasn't no physical cat that was getting down like that, at least in your beliefs and spirits, you still wasn't conforming. You feel me? You still wasn't conforming. And let me say this too. Historically speaking, every Essene wasn't the same. It was different sects of them too. It was different sects of them. All right. I think this is that last one right here. Yeah, this one. You know what I mean? And that's what history shows. As you keep searching history, you start saying, oh, dang, this is crazy. You know what I mean? This is straight crazy. I'll take weird turns, though, man. Let me pull this up. Let's go ahead and get to read. See what we get. All right. Dang. I'm just going to leave that one down there. All right. All right, let's work, family. Let's work. Shalom to everybody in the chat. Bless up, bless up. Create a gang in the building. Bless up, bless up, bless up. All right, let's work. Let's work. Good to see y'all. Good to be seen. All right, share screen. Y'all already know what we've been reading out of, right? You already know we've been reading out of, right? All right. Let's pull it up just in case anybody might have forgot. This is what we've been reading out of right here. All right, it's broken down into 2 volumes. It's really 1,000-page book. Both volumes are combined. James, the brother of Jesus, and the Dead Sea Scrolls. Volume 1, the historical James. Paul, the enemy, and Jesus's brothers as apostles. Ooh-wee. Not as a family affair. Huh? Not as a family affair in this deal. Yeah, what you thought? Thought it was a game. What you thought we was playing? All right. So let me pull this up right here for y'all. Ooh-wee. Let them get mad. All right, but this book got some ammo in it, boy. It got some ammo. There is a difference between the history and the literature. Until you come to blows with that, you'll never understand. You'll be in a religious stupor. You'll be in a religious stupor. Looking gullible. I don't know about y'all. I want to know when I'm being lied to. Got me out here looking all passive and, you know what I mean? That's why you think the majority of men these days are what they call beta males. Came up with a whole new classification for you Negroes, man. But it's all a byproduct of this war from 2,000 years ago. And believe it or not, we all are victims of it. We all are victims of this war, man. More than some bloodshed came out of this war. More than just bloodshed, man. You dig? Look these Flavians up, man. You start looking them up, you start seeing them everywhere. You think it's ironic that the cat that made Christianity an official religion of the Roman Empire, that he took on the name Flavian as well? Constantine Flavius. You think that's a coinky dink? 300 years later, this heathen just say, oh, you know, by gosh, I believe I'm just going to take on the name Flavian. All right? You can't be gullible in this thing, man. Creator ain't called for you to be gullible. Know what's going on. Not belief. Know what it is. You dig? Let me calm down. I get to talking like this. Negroes get to spilling coffee. People get to cursing me. They get crazy, man. But let's get into it. Let's get into it. Good to see y'all in the building. Bless up. Keep live, my beloved sister. Bless up. All right. Romans, Herodians, and Jewish Sects, chapter 3. All right. The Sects in the Second Temple period. All right. The Second Temple period, y'all, is from the exile coming out of Babylon down to the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. So a little bit over 500 years. And that's the period of the Second Temple. All right. Josephus describes the Jewish sects of this period in a tendentious manner. The Talmud presents an equally tendentious picture of rabbinic Judaism, opposed to all other groups, lumped together as minim, meaning sects, S-E-C-T-S, sects, or short for sectarian. That's what they call you today. You know, your little, if you got your little militia, you know, you got your own little group, they call you minim, or you're sectarian. You got your own sect, basically, right? So going to the historian Josephus, even though he was a sellout, you know, dealing with how he depicts everything is really all that you have. You know what I mean? A few other things, but I'm talking about who was contemporaneous with the actual period. Right? Look at this right here. It says the Talmud presents an equally tendentious picture of rabbinic Judaism. That's what you had today. All right. Opposed to all other groups. So let's stop talking about, hey, bro, you know, in ancient Judea, it was many sects. Look, bro, you know what they all come down to? It's your pro-Roman or anti-Roman. That's all they come down to. You pro-Roman or anti-Roman. Yeah, these cats, and look, the movement that we had going against Rome was so was highly coordinated. It was sophisticated. Our forefathers and them were very thorough when it came to guerrilla warfare. Why do you think they was calling us Sicarii, assassins? Who was you assassinating? Come on, man. Like it's a lot that was going on, but they call you they call you minim in Hebrew, or meaning you're sectarian. You belong to a sect. Sometimes these last are even called Sadducees. Without further elucidation as to who they really are. Now look at this. In the Dead Sea Scrolls from Qumran, these Sadducees are the sons of Zadok, evoking the term as employed in the vision of Ezekiel chapters 40 through 48. Now trip off this. Saduk is just another way to say Zadok. Zaduk is where you get Sadducees. But the whole point is the Sadducee, or the son of Zadok in the scrolls, is a polar opposite to the Sadducee, or them sad niggas you see that's in the Gospels. Polar opposite. The ones in the Gospels are sympathetic toward Rome. The ones in the scrolls dealing with history were anti-Roman. Whether they were physically anti-Roman or in spirit refused to submit, either way they was anti-Roman, or considered radical, or considered minim, or opposite of rabbinical Judaism. That's what you have today. And really, that's all the Negro Israelite who's not messianic. He the same thing. He's the exact same thing. Because there would be none of that had not your rabbis and them sold out to save they were in. Meanwhile, the real ones was getting murdered or conducting military operations, guerrilla warfare against the very Romans that's taxing you. Look at this. So there's a difference between them sad niggas you see in the Gospels versus the sons of Zadok, or the Sadducees in the Dead Sea Scrolls. One was anti-establishment, one was pro. If y'all understand that, give me a 9 up in the chat. All right. And the Dead Sea Scrolls from Qumran, these Sadducees are the sons of Zadok. All right. Evoking the term as employed in the vision of Ezekiel, chapters 40 through 48 of the reconstructed temple of the last days. Related to it is the righteousness ideology expressed in the root letters ZDK. That's where you get Zadok from. Zadik, Zaduk, Sadducee. You just making the C a soft C instead of a K. But if you made it a hard C, it would be Zaduk. Zaduk, right? Which is just another phrase for Zadok, which means righteous in Hebrew. Oh, wait. Of the Hebrew word underlying the Greek rendering Sadducee. The sons of Zadok or Sadducees depicted in the Qumran materials. The Qumran materials is the Dead Sea Scrolls. And the Qumran materials have little in common with those in the New Testament or Josephus. Look at this. Look at this. We cooking now. What you saying? Man, this thing is going and saying that the sad ones you see in the New Testament and that you read about in Josephus are the polar opposite to the scrolls. The polar opposite to the Dead Sea Scroll materials. The polar opposite, man. Right? But trip off this. If you don't know the difference between history and literature, you'll be thinking they are the same, even though you're reading that the understanding and the doctrine is different. You see? Now, the sons of Zadok, or you may read Sadducee in the scrolls, are anti-establishment. They're not the sad niggas you see that's in the Gospels. Or in Josephus. I know. I told y'all, boy, they want to dangle your brother from the gateway arch. Millie Mouth Negroes be all right. Millie Mouth Negroes will be all right. Shout out to the haters, jaw jackers and naysayers. Yeah. We love y'all too. Bless up. Where will we be without haters? They're great motivators. I try to tell you. Look at this right here. It says right here. Where these opposing groups of Sadducees / Herodian establishment or separatist purists are concerned, there are common approaches to legal minute that so upsets the authors of Talmudic tradition. However, in the broad lines of hostility towards the fornication of the establishment, incest, polygamy, divorce, etc., there is almost nothing in common between them. Moreover, the second group is characterized by an antagonism to foreign rule. They wasn't putting up with it. So if you got any Sadducee you read in Josephus or even the New Testament that's sympathetic toward Rome, those are not the historical sons of Zadok. That was warring against Rome. What is you talking about? What history do we have? The Dead Sea Scrolls, the scrolls in them. They got a temple scroll, war scroll, a priest scroll. They got all type of stuff in there. Right? And it's the literature of the Messianic movement in the first century coming out of Palestine. You understand? That's the literature, because remember, Judea was a war zone. But nobody just running through plush meadows and falling down the hills like Little House on the Prairie. Wasn't none of that happening. Think of war zone. Think of Iraq. Yeah, think of the Congo. Yeah. Think of Beirut, Lebanon. Yeah. Now you see the political powder keg. You understand? The Messianic movement was birthed out of, man. Wasn't nothing soft. Like, it was real. You understand? And realize this, what survived, what was developing concurrently, parallel to each other, is rabbinical Judaism and Pauline Christianity. The real ones dropped. Opposing. Whether they was physically opposing or just in their spirit, no matter even if you came and killed them, they still refuse to bow. They still refuse to look at a naked statue of Caesar in their temple. History versus literature. It's imperative that you can tell the difference between the two. And that don't mean there ain't some things that are historical in the literature. It don't mean that. You understand? But literature comes with a certain skill, a literary team, an education. You got to, and trip out this. Even if some Israelites could listen to Greek and speak it, we talking about being educated and being able to compose Greek. That's a certain curriculum called Paideia. Well, no Israelites raised in that. Nah. You got stuff twisted. So the composition of literature is a skill. They take a class in school today called English Comp or English Composition. Or what the shorties call the ELA today, English Literature and something else. ELA. I'm like, what is ELA? It's basically English Comp. So you mean to tell me the disciples or the apostles were educated in Greek composition and educated in putting out literature? Wait, if they was, why wouldn't it be in their native tongue in Aramaic? Why would all this be coming out of Rome in Greek? It ain't even coming out of Rome in Latin. Trip off that. It's coming out of Rome in Greek. Well, in order to compose literature in Greek, you had to been educated. You had to been wealthy. You had to have connections. And you had to have the finances to reproduce this stuff on a mass scale. Ooh-wee. There's a difference between the sons of Zadok or the Sadducee and the scrolls and the sad niggas you see in them gospels. One is anti-establishment. That's what the scrolls represent. All right. One is pro. One is sympathetic. One is like the rabbi who snuck out of Jerusalem in a casket and told Vespasian, you about to rule the world according to our scriptures. Declared him what? Messiah. Ooh-wee. Look at this right here. Moreover, the second group is characterized by an antagonism to foreign rule, including, look at this, foreign appointed kings. So the Sadducees or the Zadoks, sons of Zadok in the scrolls, are opposed to foreign appointed kings. So they were opposed, they were anti-Herodian, which means they were anti-Roman. The Herodians were appointed kings and ethnarchs and all that over Judea. Throughout this, antagonism to foreign rule, including foreign appointed kings, foreign appointed high priests. You mean to tell me the Israelites was the ones rebelling against the establishment, calling themselves high priests in Jerusalem because they were Herodian? Good night, boy. Good night. Foreign appointed high priests and foreign gifts and sacrifices in the temple. Want nothing to do with you. Which does not characterize the first group at all. The first group are the Sadducees as related in the literature called the New Testament. They were not antagonists to Roman rule or to foreign rule. They were not antagonists to foreign appointed kings. They were pro-Herodian. They were not antagonists to foreign high priests, because guess what? The priesthood was taken over by the Herodians as well. And they was against any type of gifts coming from any outside. All right? These cats would stand up. They wasn't playing with you. And look, their movement was highly sophisticated. It numbered in the thousands, and it's a gang of them battles they actually won. Between 66 and 70, before the temple finally fell, there was a few of them battles these bros actually won against them Romans. And true about this, it's a messianic war. That's what nobody want to talk to you about. They rather say, well, you know, Jerusalem fell because they didn't accept Jesus. Are you serious? You want to hear look me in my face and say this? When the fact was the bros that was banging was the messianics. They were the ones like, nah, we rather eat cat shit with a knit needle than collaborate with these Romans. You crazy as hell. Look at this. Look at this. Yeah. I know. Look at this. The same issues are fundamental to the zealots. Those who follow the demands of the zeal-oriented covenant of who? Phineas. Numbers 25, 6 through 13. Salute the elder. The elder got up and put in some work. And for that, according to that, he received the everlasting priesthood. So there were zealots, there were bros who wasn't dealing with it. Salute OSP as well. There are those who are called warrior faithists that ain't playing with you. And their job is to defend the chosen. You see how it correlates? It's like, dang, that's crazy. There's warrior faithists in OSP that's like, look, we're not gonna play with you. Hands off. Look at this. So, in the zeal-oriented covenant that Phineas in Numbers 25, which is an everlasting covenant, everlasting priesthood, according to that scripture, right? There were factions of Essenes called zealots who raised up in the same spirit, right? Look at this. Where the relationship of the scrolls, the so-called zealots, is concerned, it's interesting to point out that Phineas, portrayed in Numbers as functioning in the wilderness at the time of Moses, is accorded the high priestly covenant in perpetuity, meaning forever, because of the zeal he displayed in killing backsliders who were marrying foreigners, thereby deflecting pollution from the camp of Israel. First Maccabees 2:26 raises this covenant on behalf of Judah Maccabee's father, Mattathias. Salute the elder. And presumably all of his descendants succeeding to him. But this Phineas, who was Aaron's grandson, was also the high priestly ancestor of the Zadok of David's time. Bag drop. Didn't know that. I knew he come from Aharon, but I ain't know that he was directly an ancestor to the priest Zadok that was in commission when King David was in commission. Didn't know that. High priestly ancestor of the Zadok of David's time. An important connection between the Zealot and the Zadokite ideologies. See how they connected that? Yeah, Phineas, who was a Zealot, got the covenant of zeal for what he did. You understand? It's the direct ancestors to Zadok, who was in commission when David was in commission, connecting the Zealot and the Zadokite ideologies. Look at this idea of pollution in the camp of Israel in the wilderness as relating to the issue of mixing with foreigners has important ramifications in the Qumran, or the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Qumran documents, and is the focus of the zealot ethos. Ooh-wee. Y'all get some understanding. Give me an 8 up in the chat. Bless up. History verse literature part 3, Nazarene edition part 106. Herodians, with Romans, Herodians, and Judean sects. Let's talk about it. That's my thumb right there, y'all. It's the actual book I had. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about it. Dang. All right. And how about we not let our enemies identify or tell us what being a messianic is? How about that? Because the white evangelicals had you believe Jerusalem fell because the Jews didn't accept Jesus. What a lie. What a lie. And we'll trip off this. We're all victims of this war. That war has been well over 2,000-year-old psyop. 2,000-year-old psyop, man. You dig? That's why you got to be kind of strategic when you bring this information to your people, because it's a lot to process. You know what I mean? It's a lot to process, man. You dig? But look, let's get into it. Sadducees, Essenes, and Zealots. The group called Essenes also have much in common with Qumran Zadok, Qumran Sadducees. Not to mention with the so-called Zealots and Palestinian Christians following who? James. following James. But as with opposition of purist Sadducees, they have nothing in common with establishment Sadducees of the Herodian period as pictured in Josephus and the New Testament. We can't get enough saying that. The Sadducees you read about in the literature called the New Testament are nothing like the Sadducees of history. Nothing like it. All right. Look at this right here. There is an even better description of these Essenes, which includes several important points linking them closely with James's followers in Palestine. In a work called Refutation of All Heresies, attributed to Hippolytus. I think that's how you say his name. Hippolytus, an early 3rd century church writer of Rome, 160 to 235, Common Era. This description is possibly an even earlier version of Josephus' description of the Essenes in the Jewish war. In it, zealots and the more extreme counterparts of the Sicarii, or the assassins, so styled because of the Arab-style dagger they concealed under their cloaks, are seen only as Essenes, less prepared to compromise. So, according to Hippolytus, going back to the 3rd century, there is no difference between a zealot, a Sicarii, and an Essene. There's no difference. There's no difference, right? In other words, you was either anti-establishment or you was pro-establishment. You was anti-Roman or you was pro-Roman, all right? And that's why it wasn't no difference. It's not saying there ain't no difference in understanding, because everybody see things in their own way at their own time or in their own time. You understand? But when you put everything based off ideology, whether you either anti-Roman or pro-Roman, there are no neutral gang colors here. You either with them or you with us. You see what I'm saying? And again, just because you with us don't necessarily mean you get down and get your hands bloody. A lot of our people wasn't even killing. A lot of our people was like, look, we gonna rebel, and if it come down to it, we gonna lay our life down. But what we not gonna do is bow to Caesar. What we not gonna do, you understand, is be pro-establishment. Yeah. Salute, man. Salute. That's what I'm talking about. Look at this right here. It says right here. This clarifies the sectarian situation in Palestine considerably. Huh? Robert Eisenman is saying this makes clear the sectarian situation. What is a sectarian? Sectarian is the full word for sect. It was this sect and this sect and this sect. All right. But based off what it really is, based off history, you either was pro-Roman or anti-Roman. You either was standing or you was sitting. I hope I'm making sense. All right, let's get to the next one. Boy, it was a war zone, man. Nobody playing with nobody around here. You acting like everything is just so peaches and cream. It ain't. All right. Call it for what it is. Look at this right here. This is page 12, chapter 3, Romans, Herodians, and Jewish Sects, in Robert Eisenman's book, James, the brother of Jesus, and the Dead Sea Scrolls. Bless up. At the end of the 4th century, Epiphanius. At the end of the 3rd century, Epiphanius, who's Panarion. I got that. I got really 2 volumes of it. Yep. I got that. They mean medicine box. All right. Who's Panarion, medicine box against heresies in Latin, has the greatest difficulty distinguishing Essenes from a group he calls the Jessenes, followers, according to him, of David's father Jesse or of Jesus himself. This is not surprising, because even modern confusions relating to the term Essene are legion. Exactly. Look at it. So don't let none of these modern Negroes who claim they're Essenes, you understand, put you back in bondage and tell you that Essenes only rock a certain way, in worship and all that. Watch all that. You dig? For the most part, and what all they were in agreement with, they was against what was going on in the temple, and they wasn't chewing on the backs of no animals. They may have a few differences in doctrines, but what they mainly agreed about was that what was going on in the temple was an abomination, and they wasn't slaughtering their animals, man. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. Look at this. Philo of Alexandria, the first century Jewish philosopher. Now, y'all do know Alexandria is in Egypt. All right. Philo of Alexandria, the first century Jewish philosopher, referred to this expertise in health or medicinal matters, including presumably curings. The Essenes was cold at the herbs, you know what I mean? Shout out to the healers out there, man. The Essenes were marvelous. I got a few books on the Essenes and some of their equations and what they use and all that. Yeah. It's powerful. It's powerful, man. But they were master healers. And whether they was the Essenes around around Judea, or the Pythagoreans up in Greece, or the Therapeutae down in Egypt, or any other brotherhoods that was even going back far east, right? A lot of them got down and rocked with each other because they understood the Great Spirit, right? Yahweh, they understood the Great Spirit and was unwilling to compromise with anybody about it. It's just what it is, man. All right, now look at this right here. It says, for its part, the New Testament does not refer to Essenes at all, nor does the Talmud, not at least by Essenes. This may be explained by the fact that all groups, look at this, listen up. This may be explained by the fact that all groups of this kind are simply being referred to retrospectively as Minim, Sects, or Sadducees, Sadducees. Or sons of Zadok, zealots, Sakari. This is serious business, man. Look at this right here. After the Pharisees took control of the Hebrew or Judean life in the wake of the failed uprising against Rome, who took over? The Pharisees. The precursors to rabbinical Judaism. So Negro, you miss me with all the Torah portions and rolling your reshes and trying to speak Hebrew like a heathen with thin whiskey lips, boy. Wrong with you? The Talmud, the Torah, like, let's stop all. You don't even talk like that. Rolling your reshes and getting your gutters. They call those the gutturals. Sound like you're choking. You know what I mean? Stop all that, man. Because what survived is based off the niggas that sold out, man. All of them sold out. All of them sold out. All right, the real ones dropped for it. While what we got left is a form of what you call Christianity and Judaism. That's the byproduct of some cats that sold out, man. Sold out and left the bros who stood up with the holding the whole cliche thing that if you only accepted Jesus, none of this would have happened. Wow, bro. Wow. Look at this right here. After the Pharisees took control of the Jewish life in the wake of the failed uprising against Rome, and using these notations, no attempt was made to draw fine distinctions. Right. They wasn't separating. Everybody who was against them was against them. Look at this. If in fact there were even appreciated by the time the Talmudic materials were finally redacted, see? In the 2nd and 3rd centuries. Here we go. Negro arguing over the Talmud. Which is the Jerusalem Talmud or the Babylonian Talmud? I can't, like, look. Miss me with all that. You think you holier because you speaking like an imposter anyway. That ain't what it is, Jack. What you have is the remnants of who sold out. So all that, you can go back to the drawing board with all that. You can go back to the drawing board with all that. Miss me with all of it. Arguing over which version of Hebrew you supposed to be speaking. Miss me with all that. None of that means nothing. Nothing. The Talmud does refer to zealots as Kanaim. Wow. The play on Canaan. Kanaim. Those jealous or zealous, but not really as a group, rather simply as avenging priests in the temple. This will have relevance to the way James's death is portrayed in early church sources. This avenging zeal is not surprising in view of how the ethos of this group is explained in terms of the zeal of Phineas. 1 Maccabees 2:28, as noted evokes this slogan in describing how the progenitor of the Maccabean family, Mattathias, acted against those who would abrogate the traditions of the forefathers and collaborate with foreign rule. He slays them on the altar at Modin, the family place of origin. One of the problems with Josephus's pictures of the sects is that since he is covering a chronological time frame of some 250 years, one does not really know to which period his points apply. His accounts are usually derivative and accurate only for the period in which he lives. Even here, he often dissembles because of his own embarrassing relations with sectarian groups and his pre-Flavian revolutionary past. Yeah, because according to him, he used to be on our side. And he defected and became Flavius Josephus. They don't name Flavian again. Good night, boy. Good night, these Flavians, boy. Real spill. Look at this, man. Look at this, man. Man, as one can see in his war or his vita, he was under tremendous pressure to explain his past and justify actions that enabled him to survive. Right? Well, nigga, why you ain't dead with everybody else? What you done did? You get adopted into the family and all that, man. And he starts writing the history. Look at this. And he constantly defends himself against attacks on his behavior and his loyalty to Rome. It is quite likely that Josephus fell foul of Titus's younger brother and successor, Domitian, 81 through 96 Common Era, who was considered to be as mad, unpredictable, and sadistically violent as Nero had been. Indeed, the merciful Domitian seems to have executed his secretary. Look at this, y'all. Josephus's publisher, Epaphroditus. Look at this. Who had also been Nero's secretary and someone with whom Paul appears to have been extremely intimate. Bag drop, boy. Shout out to my brother Darius. All you Paul bearing Paul believers. All you Paul bearing Paul believers, boy. How was Epaphroditus, Nero's secretary, Josephus's publisher, and Saul of Tarsus' homeboy? You know what a Millie Mouth Negro gonna say? Oh man, it was more than one Epaphroditus, man. Look, y'all better stop playing with me. Eventually, you're going to have to come to the understanding that a lot of things have been rewritten, overwritten, underwritten, erased, redacted, to keep you confused, to keep you chasing your tail. There he is right there. Come on, man. I mean, can you explain that? Even Paul tell you got Roman citizenship. You got Roman citizenship and all that. And one of the people he hollered at in Philippians is the nigga named Epaphroditus, who happens to be Emperor Nero Caesar's secretary, and just so happens to be Josephus's publisher. Come on, man. Look, stop the games, is all I'm saying. Stop playing. If you ain't separating the history from the literature, you're gonna be stuck chasing your tail somewhere around here. In addition, this Epaphroditus, as is clear from Josephus' introductions, encouraged Josephus in all his works, particularly his Antiquities, which was published in 94 CE. Just a little before both disappeared from the scene. Boy, I'm telling you. Like Epaphroditus, Josephus just dropped from sight around this time and may or may not have been executed in the course of Domitian's often brutal or sadistic reign. Trajan, 98 through 117 CE, whose father had been commander of the 10th Legion in Palestine under Vespasian and Titus, then proceeded to have difficulties with messianic agitation. A lot of us talk about what happened in 70 AD. We never talk about 132 to 136, the Bar Kokhba revolt. Son of the star, Thor's son, Kokhba, star. Because remember, Josephus and Rabbi Yohanan said that star was Vespasian. Don't forget that. Away. Messianic agitation. I like that. Get under you mealy mouth Negro skin around her. Look at this. Then proceeded to have his difficulties with messianic agitation. I actually like that phrase. I like that phrase. And unrest, particularly in the eastern portions of his empire. Sectarian terminology thus tends to slide around a good deal, depending on who is doing the observing, what vocabulary he is employing, and what his own misunderstandings or prejudices might be. For instance, in his Vita, Josephus suddenly tells us about a wilderness sojourn he made during a trial he says he was conducting of all the sects. There he meets a teacher he calls Banus. Not a name, but a title or cognomen of some kind, probably having something to do with bathing, without telling us that this teacher is almost indistinguishable from Jewish Christians or Essenes, the group heading his list of Jewish sects. There is indeed a bewildering plethora of these groups. There is indeed a bewildering plethora of these groups. This diminishes only when one appreciates the verbal acrobatics. So you can, in other words, you can get rid of the division lines of all the groups that were anti-Roman. All right. Watch this. This diminishes only when one appreciates the verbal acrobatics involved, where subversive or threatening sex or a given writer's own embarrassing relations with them are concerned. In order to sort these various, hold on. Sort these various groups out. Look at this. It is better simply to group them according to whether they supported the Roman Herodian establishment or opposed it. Flat out. That's all you can do. Man, it was 106. Well, they was either pro-Roman or they was anti-Roman. They either was pro-slave master or they was anti-slave master, Jack. And that's how you supposed to look at it. Because them the ones that got hit. And what was allowed to survive these past 2,000 years, you understand, was a bunch of jack boots of the Roman Empire, including rabbinical Judaism. And I always wondered how the Jewish elite were always considered like the gatekeepers of this society. Well, the same way the Herodians were the gatekeepers of the Roman society back then. It's the same thing. Same thing. They are the gatekeepers. They are the Roman tax collectors. You see that? It is better simply to group them according to whether they supported the Roman Herodian establishment or opposed it. Likewise, it is often more edifying to look at groups in terms of who their common enemies were. Absolutely. Come on, you're supposed to know that. You know what I mean? You're supposed to know all that, man. Think about it. We never even asked ourselves, because a lot of us never looked at it through an historical lens anyway, but we never asked ourselves, well, who all had the same enemies? What really happened? Are we just going to sit here and keep running with this lie that Jerusalem fell because the Jews didn't accept Jesus? Is you serious, man? Are you serious? Look at this right here, man. Seen in this way, James's Jerusalem community. I'm going to read that again. Likewise, it is often more edifying to look at groups in terms of who their common enemies were. Seen in this way, James's Jerusalem community, Ebionites, Essenes, Zealots, and the group responsible for the documents found at Qumran, the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? All can be thought of as opposed to the reigning establishment. Backdrop. What is we talking about here? That's why I ain't gonna lie to you. A lot of the brothers who run around here call themselves Essenes and Ebionites. I'm very, very disappointed in you, Millie Mouth Negroes, man. I'm talking about the ones that use the knowledge to try to be, you know what I mean, on a high horse or divisive against the brothers and sisters who are really sincere. Y'all niggas should be ashamed of yourselves, man. You either pro-establishment or anti-establishment. Y'all ain't on no level anyway. Most of you Negroes got offended because you heard a word named chakra and got offended. Like, I'm talking about all offended. I said, oh, these boys is on sippy cup time. Heard the word chakra and got offended. Start blocking brothers and everything. Highly disappointed in you Millie Mouth Negroes, man. Highly. Because when we searched the history, all the Essenes had different points of views and all that, but they had enough sense to understand either you was pro-establishment or anti-establishment. What's going on, Ma? You cool? You need me to help you? I got it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you was either pro-establishment or anti-establishment. That's it. There ain't no need for none of us to use any information to act divisive toward one another, act as if you lording over somebody with something. Nah, man, sure, that ain't yours anyway. All we doing is going back over the information. It's called research. You're going back over or researching what somebody else already put out here. That's all you doing. That's all any of us is doing. You understand? There's no reason for you to act like you the groovy guru around here. There ain't no reason. All right, so notice how he just said, and we all know James as the Messiah's brother. All right, so he's saying like all these, look, that's the real form, if you want to call it, I don't even like calling it Christianity, but the real form of, for the word's sake, Christianity went with James and them. When Yahshua went on, it was James and his crew. It wasn't Paul. Paul's movement survived the fall of Jerusalem. Rabbinical Judaism is what survived. Both movements are those who are connected to Caesar's household. Huh? Your boy Flavius Josephus was adopted into the Flavian family, and old boy Rabbi Yohanan was given universities and told what was allowable and what wasn't. Think about it. Even when you look at any celebration, say some Jewish folk are celebrating what they call Hanukkah, right? All the stories are based off of this mysterious story that they had enough oil to burn the menorah for 1 day and it burned 8 days. They don't even talk about Judah Maccabee and them. They don't even talk about the bros that was like, oh no, we about to bang against that. They don't even talk about that because about this, y'all, in rabbinical Judaism, any literature that could raise the spirit of the revolutionaries that stood up, it was either removed or downplayed to like not being canonical. That's why they don't even talk about it. Whenever you look at any of their Hanukkah celebrations, they not even talk about Mattathias, Granddaddy Mac, you know what I mean? Judah Maccabee, Simon, John, and them. Like, they ain't even talking about the bros and that actually stood up and was like, no, we ain't doing that. We're not finna look at no naked statue of Caesar. We ain't finna bow a knee and work out butt naked in a gymnasium. But that's what the Greeks and Romans was doing there. You see? Look at this right here. All the bros in this list right here oppose the establishment. And that's my only question for any brother claiming any of these names. Is you pro the establishment or anti the establishment? That'll let me know how I proceed with you. That's it. We can argue all day over which Essene literature or Nazarene literature you leaning towards, more or less. You either pro-establishment or you not. You either love your people or you don't. That's all it comes down to. The rest of that is for you educated Negroes. We let y'all argue over frivolous matters. Let's go ahead and get the basics down on the table. Either you with us or against us. That's it. That's all. And what you're mad for. Even Jesus said it in the Gospels. He that ain't with me is against me. Look at this. The Qumran documents, meaning the Dead Sea Scroll materials. All right. The Dead Sea Scroll material. The Qumran documents, for example, are not simply a random collection of disparate sectarian writings. The same ideology, nomenclature, and dramatist persona move from document to document regardless of style or authorship. For instance, one never encounters. Look at this. In the history, in the scrolls, right? For instance, one never encounters a document approving of the contemporary establishment, which in the writer's view must be seen as the Herodian one. Look, right here, he like, look, in the scrolls, you'll never find nothing that's sympathetic toward Rome. Ever. You'll never encounter a document approving of the establishment, of the contemporary establishment. Stop it, man. And that contemporary establishment is a Herodian one. Look at this. For this reason, it is proper to refer to the authors of these documents as compromising a movement of some kind, which is always at its core anti-establishment. Its precise name for the movement must be left indeterminate. But the way, the sons of Zadok, the poor, the simple, the meek, the perfect, the sons of light, the holy ones, or combinations such as the zealots for the day of vengeance, the poor ones of piety, the zealots for righteousness and perfect of the way, are all terms cropping up in their repertoire as self-designations. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. Hold on, we cooking. All right, we cooking. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee, ooh-wee. Look at this. To add to all these groups, one has the bewildering assortment referred to by church heresiologists of the 3rd to the 5th centuries, like Nazarenes, Nazarenes, huh? Salute to the Nazarites and the saints, man. Salute to the Nazarene family. You understand? Believe that, know that. All right, I got a brother. We got a brethren right here, like Nazarenes, Nazarenes, Samsians, Sabaeans, as we shall see, and Elkosites, most located on the other side of the Jordan, extending on up to Syria and northern Iraq, and holding James's name in particular reference. Some like Ebionites in absolute awe. Salute the Ebionite fam, man. Huh? Salute the Ebionite fam, man. Much love. Much love. Despite any disagreements, it ain't nothing love this way. My same brothers too. You just gotta call BS for what it is, man. Y'all niggas keep that solid around here. Keep it solid. You understand? Because that's what these bros did. They kept it solid. No matter how we see a few things differently. I mean, is that a surprise to you? Everybody has had their own experience. You naturally gonna view things differently. What is all that about? You with us or against us? That's the only thing I'm asking. You with us or against us? That's all that matters. Everything else is for the birds. Well, nothing else matters. We can tongue wrestle later and do a debate and all that. Is you with us or against us? That's what we need to know. Look at this right here. What a relationship of these groups to the Qumran documents or the Dead Sea Scrolls, or for that matter to the New Testament is concerned, their location across the Jordan in that Damascus region, so important to both, is particularly significant. All of these groups, too, can be considered as allied or related in some way. There it is. All being anti-establishment, anti-Roman, and having common enemies. And they still was clicked up despite the misunderstandings or despite the differences in understandings. They was against none but creator. They was against the idolatry and all that. You understand? And they love their people, man. Love your neighbors yourself. So the real messianics died banging. And what you got when the dust settled is the children of some sellouts. You understand? They came outside and told Vespasian he was Messiah. He fulfills the Numbers 24 and 17 prophecy. Good night, man. Good night. Like, where is we at now then? That's all I'm saying. Where is we at now? And for anybody that think it's a game, Malachi Maccabee has not made any of this up. We're not reading my book right here. And I didn't put that video up in the beginning. I love you enough to show you what I'm looking at. Look at this. Look at this. You may get some questions answered that you ain't been getting answered through mainstream religion. And yes, being a Hebrew Israelite, you're still in religion. You're still in religion. Now, most of you Negroes are terrified for somebody to see you without your zeets on. Terrified. Shit, them one Negroes won't even speak to you if you ain't got your zeets on. Your zeets. Religion, man. If it ain't got nothing to do with spiritual progression and you know, you assisting in the resurrection of others and loving others as yourself, man, what you into some religion? If it got anything to do with somebody trying to force you to be exactly like them and roll like this, man, look. I refuse to be controlled by any of these mealy mouth Negroes. Period. It's just what it is, man. All right. Now look at this right here. They all were anti-establishment. We need to understand that, man. All right. And they had common enemies. Where the first century CE is concerned, it is also useful to consider the opposition groups in terms of their various degrees of zeal. All right. Extending from the more pacifist to the more violent. This is how Hippolytus discusses his Essenes, who range by degree to the most extreme Sicarii, namely those Josephus describes as committing suicide on Masada in the last installment of the war against Rome. If one keeps one's eyes firmly fixed on support of or opposition to the Roman Herodian establishment, one will never go far astray. Those supporting this establishment can be described, echoing language found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, as seeking accommodation with foreigners, which the Herodians and their Roman overlords were most certainly considered to be. Yeah, you was trying to be accommodated by the foreigners. Yeah. See, when you look at it like that, you either with us or against us. All the boundaries, the man-made boundaries in your mind concerning the different sects of your brethren, all that disappeared. Now you can love one another. All right? Having an enemy ain't necessarily a bad thing, man. You dig? Keeps you on your toes. All right? Keeps you focused. Right? And you get the opportunity to really understand and prioritize your love. See what I'm saying? Straight up. It's just what it is. So just because you have enemies ain't necessarily a bad thing. All right? Enemies can be great motivators, man. Great motivators. Like, oh, okay. Right? But you either was with this establishment or you wasn't. I'm telling you, I rock with the bros that wasn't with it. Like, we ain't about to do all that. We ain't about to do all that. You know what I mean? We're not doing that. We're not going for that. We're not finna be cool and just, you know, use our inside voice and don't say nothing no more. We ain't doing none of that. I mean, we ain't doing none of that. We gonna stand and we gonna fall, but what we not gonna do, you understand, is bow a knee to Caesar's naked ass. Man, they're trying to put a statue of Caesar's, look, with his genitalia exposed, standing up in the temple in Jerusalem. And it was Negroes who was with it. Oh, man. Look at this right here. These are the kinds of distinctions. These are the kinds of distinctions that will prove useful in considering the best known establishment party, the Pharisees. Oh, Pharisees are ops. Pharisees are ops, Jack. Oh, no. The best known. Bro, say in the book, the best known establishment party, the Pharisees, who in their current embodiment, look at this, who in their current embodiment of rabbinic Judaism still constitute the establishment among Jews today. Good night, boy. This is a vivid reminder of just how enduring these traditions can be, whether in their present day Orthodox, conservative, liberal, or reform embodiments. All not only claim to be heirs to the Pharisaic legacy, but in addition, and as we shall see, even more astonishing, the Pharisees were the popular party of the first century CE. Good night. Good night. For this reason, many Jews, even secular ones, are unable to grasp the true import of their own Hanukkah festivities. which are basically a celebration of Maccabean, anti-foreign, non-accommodationist, priestly zeal. Salute. Yeah. That's how you know. Why they don't even talk about that. Look at the Hanukkah, any Hanukkah or the Feast of Dedication celebration by a so-called Jewish congregation. Look at that. This year, at the end of the year coming up. You dig? Nothing about the bros that stood up and laid their life down even gets brought up. The Israelites, we always talk about Judah Maccabee and them. I'm talking about the rabbinical Jews and all that. You know what I mean? The congregations they be having, and even for the feast, they don't even bring the bros up. I wonder why. Ooh-wee. What you really got talking about you living holy. Stop it. Look at this right here. It says, many Jews, even secular ones, are unable to grasp the true import of their own Hanukkah festivities, which are basically a celebration of Maccabean, anti-foreign, non-accommodationist priestly zeal. This is because this tradition, too, which is diametrically opposed to the inherited one, has been downplayed, trivialized, and virtually written out of Talmudic literature, where most references to the Maccabees are negative for the same reason that they are in Christianity. It is no wonder that many scholars, Christian and Jewish alike, thought that the Maccabees could have been candidates for the wicked priests of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Oh no! How the Messianic bro them the wicked ones now? Huh? Do y'all know if certain theologians who will come outside and say that Mattathias and his sons are the wicked priests that the Dead Sea Scrolls are talking about? Not Paul, not Saul of Tarsus, but the bros. Oh my God, boy, you can't be serious. You can't even be serious, dog. You can't even be serious with that one. That's crazy. That's crazy. It says right here, wicked priests of the Dead Sea Scrolls when these documents appeared. Thus, the view was widely disseminated that the Maccabees had. Hold on. I got to go to the other one. I forgot to download. That the Maccabees had. Hold on. The Maccabees had. Bang, bang, bang. That the Maccabees had usurped the high priesthood from a previously more legitimate one. This was not only to misunderstand the essence of the Maccabean uprising, but the Qumran position with regard to such matters. Man, he's saying when the Dead Sea Scroll material first appeared and they get to reading about the righteous teacher versus the wicked priest, they're going to say that the wicked priest is the sons of Mattathias, that priestly family. You dig? And I don't even know who they were saying that the teacher of righteousness is, right? But either the teacher of righteousness is either Yahshua or James, and the wicked priest is Paul. That's bro who wrote this book. That's his position on it. You know what I mean? That's crazy. But that misunderstanding did what? This was not only to misunderstand the essence of the Maccabean uprising. Why did Mattathias and them rise up? Why you got a Judah Maccabee and all that? Because they were the same. The truth about this, they refused to bow a knee to that Greek Hellenization. So in the same spirit, almost 200 years later, you got the Messianic movement coming out of Judea or Palestine that's in the same spirit as them. We not about to bow a knee to none of that. What you think this is? Huh? Look at this. Look at this right here. Zealots, anti-nationalists, Pharisees, zealots, anti-nationalist Pharisees, and the messianic roots of the uprising. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee, ooh-wee. We cooking today, baby. We cooking today, baby. We cooking today. Hey, look, if y'all getting some understanding, give me a 6 up in the chat. Bless up, bless up. Bless up, bless up, bless up. We here to work. We ain't here to play. We here to work. I need y'all to go back and watch that video later too. That video was tight. All right, my bad, y'all. I had to grab my whatchamacallit real quick. All right. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee, ooh-wee. We working. Ooh-wee, we here working. We here working, baby. How we looking? All right, check the chat. Make sure we cool in the chat. All right, we good, we good, we good. Good to see y'all in the building. Good to be seen. All right, zealots, anti-nationalist, Pharisees, and the messianic roots of the uprising. But the Pharisees were not the popular party of their time and place, despite Josephus' attempts and those of rabbinic Judaism thereafter to prove otherwise. To clarify and highlight this, I have in my work generally redefined Pharisees as those seeking accommodation with foreigners. In the scrolls, these appear as the seekers after smooth things, clearly a hostile designation in terms of political attitudes. Pauline Christians are not very different from Pharisees. Pauline Christians are not very different from Pharisees. This puts the proposition in the broad brushstrokes that have meaning for the period before us, dispensing with the kind of legal hair splitting usually discussed. The establishment groups, quite simply put, look at this, y'all. Look at this. The establishment groups, quite simply put, were the Pharisees, accommodationists, Sadducees, and Herodians. These are the ones that was riding with Rome, man. What are you talking about? Pharisees, Herodians, and who you call accommodationist Sadducees. They not the sons of Zadok that's out there with the Essenes. These is the cast that's like Herodian appointed. They're Herodians, claiming to be sons of Zadok. Just like you got people claiming they're Jewish, claiming to be Jews. Same thing. Same thing was going on then. Same exact thing. Look at it. Read again. The establishment groups, quite simply put, were the Pharisees, accommodationists, Sadducees, and Herodians. The last, the Herodians, being those members of the Herodian power structure and their associates not encompassed under the preceding two designations. Pauline Christianity. Look at this, y'all. Make sure y'all pay attention to this one. But this is something nobody wants to deal with. All right. Pauline Christianity and rabbinic Judaism developed in conjunction with each other. Oh, hold on. So that's for my non-messianic Israelites and my messianic Israelites. Well, I ain't a Christian. You know, Pauline's a woman. You talking about Paul. But no, the fact that you believe in the letters of Paul, like, you understand, as if Paul's an apostle for real. Like, you understand? Paul's movement was different than James's movement, which is Yeshua's brother. All right? According to all the research I've been doing, what he just said is absolutely true. Pauline Christianity and rabbinic Judaism developed in conjunction with each other. Both are a political tool used by the Roman Empire. We can stop the mealy mouthing and infighting right now. We all been duped. You've been duped. You've been hoodwinked. You've been bamboozled. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. Yeah, we can stop the fighting now. Dang. Both of these Old Testament, New Testament, Messianic, non-Messianic, Torah Orthodox, Torah only. New Testament only. All you Negroes have been duped. Y'all been duped. Because both are political tools of your enemies to, guess what, suppress that revolutionary spirit that's in you. It's in you to rebel against bullshit, man. It's just in you. You understand? Even if you ain't no physical, even if you ain't the physical type, in your spirit, you still like, I'm not doing that. I'm good. Regardless of the outcome. You see? It just ain't in you to compromise with all that, man. Especially in this day and time. We tired, boss. We tired. Niggas ain't going for that. You ain't gonna put no naked picture, nothing up. Talking about some, this is God. And I'm supposed to, man, look. Y'all think it's a game, man. We can stop the infight now, Israel. All right, what you got is Pauline Christianity. Paul wrote the majority of the books in the New Testament. And look, even you might as well come on outside and say anything that Luke wrote, he got from Paul. That's Paul's boy. So you got to throw Acts and Luke in there. Then I wrote down the whole New Testament. It's the truth. And he's an Herodian, according to his own lips. Romans 16 and 11. Salute Herodian, my kinsman. He also has Roman citizenship. Acts 22nd chapter. What are we really talking about? You think it's a coinky dink? Huh? That once the dust settled, what you have is Pauline Christianity and rabbinical Judaism. And both, trip up this, y'all. Two heads of the same beast. Huh? That still to this day, the majority of the world up under both of those religions. Stop playing games, man. That's all I'm saying is stop playing. History versus literature. Look at this right here. Pauline Christianity and rabbinic Judaism develop in conjunction with each other and both follow an accommodationist policy towards Rome, which is why no doubt both survived. Yeah. Both survived because y'all both, y'all both got weak in the back. Mm-hmm. Got a yellow belly. Look at it. In this context, the main difference is that one is pro-law and the other against it. But the points of accommodation here are not the minor ones belabored in rabbinic observation, in rabbinic tradition, on that one, such as those connected with dietary regulation, sexual purification, or Sabbath observation. Though these played a part, rather they are the broad lines of accommodation with foreigners in a political sense. That the Pharisees are the popular party in this period, which the New Testament too is anxious to promote, is repeatedly and definitively gainsayed by Josephus. Despite, and don't forget, y'all, his name is Flavius Josephus. Despite his attempts, pro-Roman and Pharisee fellow traveler that he is. Despite his attempts, pro-Roman and Pharisee fellow traveler that he is, to promote it. Over and over again, Josephus presents often unwittingly the people as opposing the anti-nationalist policies of the Pharisees. Predictably, the people, as in most times and places, are predominantly nationalists. Predictably, the people, as in most times and places, are predominantly nationalists. Read it again. Over and over again, Josephus presents often unwittingly the people as opposing the anti-nationalist policies of the Pharisees. Wow. Predictably, the people, as in most times and places, are predominantly nationalists. They may have been forced to go along with the Pharisees and the rabbinic party that succeeded them after the fall of the temple and the elimination of all serious opposition groups. But before this, they most often opposed them. Look at this. It is a curious coincidence that Josephus launches into both his descriptions of the Jewish sects in the war and the antiquities at just the point he comes to describe the movement founded by Judas the Galilean. Write them down. Because we grew up hearing about Judas the turncoat, right? Boy, Boy, what if I told you had a great revolutionary ancestor called Yahudah the Galilean? Huh? Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. Look him up. Judas the Galilean. Blow your mind real quick. Huh? I told y'all we all are victims of that war that went down 2,000 years ago. That deal has been a successful psyop for close to 2,000 years, man. You dig? Look at this right here. It says, it is curious coincidence that Josephus launches into both his descriptions of the Jewish sects and the war and the antiquities at just the point he comes to describe the movement founded by Judas the Galilean. This he calls a new philosophy, which our people were before unacquainted with. Antiquity of the Jews, 1810. At present, it is sufficient to point out that this group or movement arises at just the moment one would expect it to, when the previous leadership had been eliminated by Herod, and new leadership principles, including the Messianic, emerges. 11 years. It's right here. 11 years after the death of Herod, the Romans annexed the country, and in anticipation of direct taxation by governors or procurators, imposed a census. This is the 6 through 7 Common Era census of Quirinius. Quirinius, by which the Gospel of Luke dates the birth of Jesus. Luke 2:1. Write it down, y'all. Huh? The Gospel of Matthew, by contrast, has Jesus being born sometime before the death of Herod, more than a decade earlier. So that Herod can attempt to chase him down and kill all the Jewish children, as did Pharaoh at the time of the birth of Moshe. The two accounts are, of course, irreconcilable, meaning a lot of y'all didn't know that there are two different accounts of the birth of Jesus in the book, in the New Testament. The census of Quirinius in Luke 2:1 happened a whole decade later than, you understand, Herod, because Herod the Great had to be alive to issue the decree to kill all the babies born 2 and under that were born around the same time. Oh, he couldn't have been issuing a death decree from the grave, right? But the census of Quirinius happened after the death of Herod. So when was Jesus born? During the taxation of Quirinius or during the life of Herod the Great? A lot of people didn't know that. You dig? Here you go, just a jackboot believer. I believe everything, and I understand. That's the mindset I came out of. It's all true. Let somebody slow you down, and you got to relook at that. And historically, you got to say, okay, well, that means Herod the Great was alive during the census or the taxation of Quirinius. And if you can't reconcile that, then you're dealing with contrasting, conflicting. You're dealing with contradiction. That's what you're dealing with. Because he can't be born at both different times. They're a decade apart. All right. One is when Herod was living. The other was during the taxation of Quirinius, or the census of Quirinius. If you understand what I'm saying, give me a 5 up in the chat. Bless up, bless up, bless up, bless up. Much love, family. Believe that, know that. Much love. All right. What you say, Prince? Louamon, boy. That nigga Louamon, boy. Good night. Good night, good night. I see I got it written down there, conflicting accounts of Jesus' birth. The time is different. All right. And if you about any truth, you know how to be real with yourself. How is he born 2 different times? He either was born during the taxation or the census of Quirinius or during Herod's lifetime. The census of Quirinius was more than a decade after Herod died. In Matthew chapter 2, Jesus is born, Herod's alive. How do we know? Because he sent an order to kill who? All the children born around the same time. But the taxation of Quirinius didn't happen in a whole decade after Herod died. Make that make sense? Huh? Look at this. This is the census, essentially a tax assessment. which the Zealots opposed, and against which Judas the Galilean and Zadok preached. You see that? So it was about foreign taxation. Who was you to tax us? And if y'all got, and look, and if y'all offended at that, we grew up, drop this, we grew up reading about the Boston Tea Party, didn't we? I done heard Billy Mouth Negro now. All that revolutionary talk. Well, hold on, Jack. We grew up reading about and hearing about the Boston Tea Party, correct? And ain't all that about foreign taxation on what you call American soil? Wasn't that about that? Well, guess what the revolutions was about 2,000 years ago in first century Palestine? The same thing. Who is these foreigners to be taxing us? Huh? Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee, ooh-wee. It is supported by the Pharisees and, of course, the Herodian Sadducees. This issue is also a burning one in the gospel narratives and Jesus' repost of the Pharisees and the Herodians concerning it. Then it's going to go on to render under Caesar. Yeah. Hold on. I think I forgot to download the other one. Let me go ahead and pull them up too. Fam, hold on. Let me stop sharing real quick. Get back to y'all for a second. Hold on. Let me stop sharing real quick and get back to y'all. Give me 1 second. I gotta pull some more. Right, it was opiates. Opioid, whatever. Yeah, I knew about that. All right. Hey, that was the we reading out of James, the brother of Jesus, and the Dead Sea Scrolls by Robert Eisman, Volume 1. Volume 1. That's what we read. Yeah, I hope y'all get some understanding. It's all good. Let's see, and this the other Essene books. Essene Gospel of Peace. It's a few of them. That one right there got 4 volumes in it. That one got 4 volumes in it. All right. Let me get the rest of this shit. Hold on 1 second. I had emailed it to myself and I ain't even finished downloading these deals. All right, then I'm just pull the screen back up and let's get back to it. A couple more to read and we out of here. How y'all feeling in the building? Talk to me. Yeah, respect, brother. Yeah, James, the brother of Jesus by Robert Eisman. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it back. I'm gonna pull it up. Y'all. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. I gotta download these other slides just real quick, and I'm gonna pull them deals on up. Bing. 1 second. 2 of them downloaded. 3 of them downloaded. 4 of them downloaded. Let's work. Pull this on up. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Yeah, brother. Yeah, I had to make this happen real quick. What's that? That ain't it again. I'll be tripping. All right, so let me just pull all these up. Well, I got them right here. All right, that's what I'm gonna do. I ain't even finna play. Give me 1 second. The rest of these deals are pulling up right now, and we're gonna keep it pushing. All right. That one right there. All right, number 3. Pull this on up. Got one more download after this, y'all. We good. We good bread. Okay. That's what we getting into next one. All right. All right, last one. Let's work. Which one is this? Man. right. See what this one is too. This one ain't be nothing crazy. I'm 17, got that up. Which one is this? Give me 1 second, y'all. It still kind of threw me for a loop. So, okay. I'm cool. I was gonna say, man, what is going on here? Okay. Got it. I ain't even got to name it right now. All right, let me get back up here and share the screen with y'all, and let's rock out. Yeah, your brethren. It's crazy. Right, dang. Yeah. It's I figured deal upstairs. Alright, bang. Present. Sure. Let's get into it. Entire screen. Alright, we going to page 15 of the same book. In fact, let me pull it up for anybody came in late. This is the book we reading right here. That deal go hard. James, the brother of Jesus, and the Dead Sea Scrolls, Volume 1, the historical James, Paul, the enemy, and Jesus' brothers as apostles. Bless up. I hold Robert Eisen. All right. It's crazy. His name like Insane Man. His name actually look like Insane Man. I say, man, this is crazy, bro. I don't think that's a coincidence either, but you know how it is. Okay, it's page 15 right here. All right, let's get into it. Now remember, we were just reading on page 14 where we was talking about how Messiah and Matthew was talking about render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, right? All right, right here. He said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar and God what is God's. Has now become proverbial, strange, because the Gospels picture Jesus as adopting the Pharisee policy of paying tax to Caesar. There are, in fact, a plethora of revolutionary outbursts, even at the time of the death of Herod, with which the unrest begins by groups Josephus pictures as being zealous for the law, Mosaic and not Roman, and as having an inviolable attachment to liberty. One of these led by someone he calls Judas Sephorius, probably identical with Judas the Galilean, broke into the arsenal at Sepphoris in 4 BCE, the principal town at that time in Galilee. We were the Jews in antiquity. See, so they was breaking into armories and all that, stealing shields, swords, whatever. Right? Look at this. There is no doubt about the popularity of the movement because Josephus, in his lengthy description of it and the woes the people suffered in consequence of their support for it, admits not only that our young men were zealous for it, but that the nation was infected by it to an incredible degree. And the movement is the messianic movement coming out of where? Judea or Palestine. First century. And based off the history we running, one of the chief families heading the movement is the family of Yahshua. That's crazy. Mainly his brother James. So you understand? Like that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Look at it right here. It says right here. In addition to Jesus' birth being presented as coincident with its inception and the fact that its appearance triggers Josephus' discussion of the sex of his time, there is another interesting aspect to this movement. At the end of the Jewish War, when describing the signs and wonders that presaged the fall of the temple, of which people as superstitious as the Romans were so enamored, Josephus finally reveals something that he neglected for some reason to tell us earlier. He claims that the thing that most moved the people, listen to this, y'all. And that's why I say this war was a messianic war. This war was a messianic war. Jerusalem didn't fall because the Jews didn't accept Jesus. This was a messianic war. The niggas that survived were the ones that was anti the people, anti the movement. Everybody else laid it down, Jack. They refused to be oppressed by foreign rule. They refused. No, you're not finna do us like that. You know what I mean? You ain't finna do us like that. Nuh-uh. When your love, when that brotherhood is that strong, bro, you're unstoppable. You're unstoppable. You dig? And look, what's wrong with that? It ain't like we went and attacked the Romans. It ain't like we went up and set up in Italy and said, this is our spot now. Pay us taxes. You understand? We got hit from an outside force and had to, really, hey, man, really love one another. You understand? And really love the Creator. You understand? That's just what it is, man. We gonna stand or we gonna fall, but what we not gonna do, you understand, is take a knee to any of that. That can't happen. I'm on my live. I'll catch you in a minute. All right. You dig? So one thing we ain't gonna do is do any of that. All right, now look at this right here. It says right here. He claims that the thing that most moved the people to revolt against Rome was an ambiguous prophecy from their scripture, that one from their country should rule the entire world. That's Numbers 24:17, y'all. That's a messianic prophecy. That's about the star. Star rising out of Jacob. Ooh-wee. So if that's about this, if that is the primary motivator for the revolt, then it's safe to come on outside and call the war against Rome a messianic war, because the prophecy is based off of is one of messianic. It's a messianic expectation. And then here you go, Josephus and Rabbi Yohanan gonna say, well, that applies to Vespasian. Good night, boy. Good night, boy. Good night. Good night. Good night. Look at this. For Josephus, they had only themselves to blame for what ensued, because they interpreted this oracle to suit themselves and went so mad because of it. War the Jews, 6:312, 3:14. Look at that, y'all. Josephus said, the zealots are those who were opposed to Roman rulership interpreted Numbers 24:17 wrong. That's a prophecy of Vespasian Caesar, the Flavians. That's a prophecy of the Flavian dynasty. The Messianics interpreted that wrong. That's what Josephus is saying, man. Good night. Man, look, man. Look at this. But this is precisely the prophecy, the world ruler, Messianic, or the star prophecy he has just finished applying to Vespasian, thus saving his own skin. Exactly. Like, hold on. You can apply the same price. So the prophecy has to point to a man. And out of all the men in the world, you appoint Vespasian, Titus Flavius Vespasian, who became Caesar. Out of all the people in the world, you apply this to him to save your own skin. Rabbi Yohanan did the same thing. You can't be serious. You can't be serious. As one might add, did Rabbi Yohanan and his Pharisee party along with him, and does so again in this passage from the war. Do y'all hear this? Because the video we watched at the beginning of this class said the same thing. Did it or did it not? I might play that when I stop reading. I might just play that and let it roll on out. Huh? You got Josephus and Rabbi Yohanan boldly proclaiming that Titus Vespasian Flavius, or Titus Flavius Vespasian, he got the same name of his son. Huh? That man is Mashiach. And then you had the bruh, just to put everything in proper context. Then you had the bruhs that was like, oh, no. Nah. We'll die before we let that ride. So what side of the line you fall on? What side of the line you fall on? Man, come on. In the scrolls where it occurs at least 3 times, even in the surviving text, it receives a wholly other, completely uncompromising, nationalistic, and fully messianic interpretation. In addition, he like the scrolls are messianic. The scrolls are messianic. What's up, baby? Well, go ahead. I'm live right now, baby. Do your thing. I get what you like, okay? Look in the closet, though. And yeah, just look around better, baby. I already know. You barely looking. You're scanning. Look. All right. So look at this right here. It says right here. In addition to remarking earlier how zealous the young men were for this approach, Josephus notes that the Jews thought this prediction applied only to themselves, and therefore many of their most learned men had deceived themselves in this determination. But this is precisely the Qumran interpretation as well. So Robert Eisman, like, look, if Josephus got the nerve to come outside and say it's a wrong interpretation, then the scrolls say the same thing. The exact same thing. And no, Titus Vespasian Flavius is not the Messiah. What are you talking about? But this is precisely the Qumran interpretation as well, the representatives of which would never have stooped to the cynical opportunism of applying it to the destroyer of Jerusalem, Vespasian. Whatever the short-term benefits, he like, man, you weak. I mean, a turncoat, bro. He straight turncoat. Look, trip about this. The weakest rebel would have never did that one. Like, that was soft. That was soft. In revealing this, Josephus, of course, also reveals that zealots and other parties displaying the zeal of Phineas were not simply political, but religious and messianic as well. Bag drop, baby. Bag drop, baby. What is we really saying here? Huh? What is we really saying here? That's all I'm saying. Like, is we still arguing? Huh? You milly mouth Negroes over there still smelling your own breath? Huh? Arguing to yourself in the corner somewhere? You don't even know what's been given back to you. When the dust settles, your stuff is coming from overseas in Rome, but it's published in Greek. It ain't even published in Latin. It's published in Greek. Literature. Come on, man. You dig? And the way I laid it out today, the non-messianics, Torah only brothers, ain't trip off this, ain't no better than the Pauline Christian brothers, or the Messianic Israelites who follow the teachings of Paul. You're all in the same boat. Why do I say that? Because guess what? Both developed concurrently at the same time together. Pauline Christianity and Rabbinic Judaism by the permission of Rome. The real brush dropped for it. The real brush dropped for it. The ones that survived will accommodate the Rome. Here you go. Roll out the red carpet. Would you like that on the rock, sir? Huh? Stop that madness, man. This is proof that the uprising against Rome, aside from being popular, which it was most definitely, was also messianic. It's fueled by the star prophecy in Numbers 24. What is more, that since the uprising was messianic, And ethically and historically, this is of the utmost importance. The Jews lost everything not because they opposed the Messiah, as early church fathers or the New Testament and their tenditious presentation of Christ's death and its meaning would have us believe. But on the contrary, because they were so uncompromisingly messianic. What you mean? They lost it because they wouldn't conform to it. Good night, boy. Good night. Good night. What is we really saying then? Nah, not because Jesus was not accepted. I can hear Cal P now some Jeebus. Because not because Jesus wasn't accepted. My uncle and them, my granddaddies and them was uncompromising to it. They was uncompromising to it. This is no mean proposition and constitutes an important reversal or inversion of historical invective as has come down to us. Not only was the uprising aimed at burning the palaces of the high priest. Pay attention, yo. Pay attention. Look at this. This is how you know this deal was, man. Look, man. Pay attention to this. Look at it. Not only was the uprising aimed at burning the palaces of the high priest. Now, why? If the high priests are Israelites, why are the revolutionaries burning their palaces down? Because the high priests were Herodians. The priesthood was Herodian. The king's seat was Herodian. The Sanhedrin was Herodian. If you messianic, you was out in the desert in community, preparing for the final apocalyptic war with Rome. Huh? Man, look. Look, y'all better stop playing. That's all I'm saying. Stop playing. Stop playing. All right. This is no mean proposition and constitutes an important reversal or inversion of historical invective as it has come down to us. Not only was the uprising aimed at burning the palaces of the high priests and the Herodian kings, but the debt records, huh? The debt records as well. Huh? These bros was with it. Like, look at you. Look, y'all not taxing us. We don't owe y'all nothing. Huh? Debt discharge. For any of y'all didn't know that, a lot of my brothers fight on that battlefront. Salute the brothers that know how to discharge debt. You dig? And no matter how many processes they got to go through, they like, look, nah, man, debt discharge. Oh, yeah, I don't owe you mealy-mouth heathens nothing. This the mindset of the revolutionary messianic movement coming out of first century Judea. They weren't just burning down the palaces of the kings and the high priests. They was burning the debt records. No, you nothing. Huh? Because how the hell you going to fight somebody that you owe? Stop it, man. It don't make sense. In order, as Josephus makes clear, to turn the poor against the rich. Yeah, burn the debt records. You're no longer in bondage. Huh? The Proverbs tell you that the servant is what? Is the borrower is a servant to the lender. The borrower is a servant to the lender. So it makes sense that the brother was like, burn the debt records. No longer your slave. Can't be your servant. The more I borrow, the more I'm in debt, or the more I'm in bondage. Yeah, you starting to see that. You starting to see the whole thing been turned upside down and given back to us like, here you go. Here you go. Here you go. A lot of things have been mythologized. Lots of it. Look at this right here. Once again, this is the same genre of language events in the letter of James and the Dead Sea Scrolls and their condemnation of the rich. It is also the language applied to the movement led by James by Saul of Tarsus. Galatians 2 and 10. Remember the poor, Ebionites. Salute the Ebionites, man. And to the latter Ebionites, so named because of it, as well as the nomenclature used by the movement. Hold on. No, we ain't playing no game. Hold on. That was 15. I ain't got 16 up in, man. I had that up in. Hold on, y'all. Dang. They got me messed up. See, it's a page I'm missing up here. Okay, keep that up. Which one is this? Okay, so I can move that out the way. Hold on, family. Ain't that one. And for sure ain't that one. Gotta be this one. Oh yeah, boy. Bing. Y'all thought I was tripping, huh? Thought I was tripping. Page 16. All right, what it say right there? It says represented by the scrolls to describe his own rank and file, called there as well the Ebianim, or the poor. Before leaving this subject of the outbreak of the uprising in 66, it is important to note that in a final moment of unparalleled candor, Josephus tells us that it was the principal Pharisees, the chief priests, the men of power, by which he means Herodians, and all those desirous for peace who invited the Roman army into Jerusalem. Man, these niggas was sellouts. Huh? I can't even believe half this stuff I'm reading, man. I can't even believe it. I really just can't believe it, man. Like, where is it? They straight invited the Roman army into Jerusalem to put down the uprising. This is what Josephus meant in the introduction to the war about how the Romans were invited into the city by the Jews' own leaders. Here one comes to an even more startling detail provided by Josephus, if what he seems to be saying can be tied to characters we know in early Christian history. The intermediary in this process of inviting the Roman army into the city was a member of the Herodian family, called who? Saul. Good night, boy. Good night, boy. You know what you're gonna say? Oh no, it ain't the same Saul. And true about this, y'all. That's the only argument anybody come with. We start connecting the names. Oh, that ain't the same Saul. That ain't the same Epaphroditus. That ain't the same James. That ain't the same Mary. That ain't the same Joseph. You don't see a problem with this? Obviously, you're dealing with literature that has been redacted, rewritten, overwritten, double written, underwritten, by many different scribes at different time periods under different agendas. It's just what it is. But there's a man named Saul who, guess what, is a direct descendant of Herod the Great, who invites the Roman army into the city. I wonder who that is. God forbid that's Saul of Tarsus, huh? Look at this. He is the one who delivered the message from the peace coalition to the Roman army camped outside Jerusalem to enter. And a final report even to Nero's headquarters, then in Corinth in Greece, a favorite haunt too of the religious activities of Paul or Saul of Tarsus. Look at this right here. Dang. The anti-national pro-Roman policy of the Pharisees should by now be clear. The anti-national pro-Roman policy of the Pharisees should by now be clear. It's also the stance of the Pauline Gentile Christians. Non-messianic or messianic family. Yeah, you stand in clear opposition to the movement that Yahshua and his family started, or that was Yahshua and his family were the leaders of. Historically speaking, I'm talking about literature. Historically speaking, Yahshua come from a long line of revolutionaries who just was with what it was. Majority of them were Nazarites from the womb. Meaning them brothers never ate flesh, drank wine. Like they really was about that life. Like for real, you know what I mean? Salute the real ones, man. Salute the real ones. All right. So also the stance of Pauline Christians following the teaching of a person who describes himself as having been trained as a Pharisee and, according to the picture in Acts, anyhow, vaunts a Roman citizenship, something not easily acquired in these turbulent times. Nor can the Pharisees in this period, by any twist of the imagination, be considered the popular party. If anything, the zealot and or messianic were the popular parties. You got to remember, because we was for the people. Man, we love our brothers and sisters, man. This is what it is. We the popular, the people loved us. They loved us. You know what I mean? That Pharisee madness is what survived, because, again, one of their rabbis snuck out of Jerusalem in a casket and told Vespasian he was the Messiah. And because of that, he was awarded academies and universities to spread a form of Judaism that Rome would allow. Not the Judaism that caused all these niggas to get murdered in this wilderness. That's not allowable. Look at this right here, man. At least until the fall of the temple and the re-education policy undertaken by the heirs of the Pharisees and the Roman suzerainty thereafter. Yeah. The coming of the Romans and the Herodians. Wow. Then what is the key to events as described in the above analysis? It is the rise of the Herodians and the coming of the Romans. This is the reason for the widespread disaffection being expressed in this period and most of the unrest. After the fall of the Maccabees, Roman rule was imposed. After the fall of the Maccabees, salute the real ones, the Hasmonean dynasty, Roman rule was imposed, sometimes through Herodian kings, sometimes more directly through Roman procurators. It is against the backdrop of the fall of the Maccabees and the ascent of the Herodians in the 1st century BCE that the rise of various sects or movements, particularly nationalistic or messianic ones, must be gauged. Again, if one keeps this and the fact of Roman power firmly before one's eyes, then almost all else follows comparatively easily. Realize, in other words, keep your mind historically on what was going on, and you won't be faked out. You'd be like, nah, that don't even make sense right there. How? Look at it. The first appearance of the Romans in the Eastern Mediterranean came prior to this period, in the late stages of the Punic War. They actually made their presence felt in the 60s BCE when they turned Syria into a Roman province, eliminating the last vestiges of Seleucid rule. Just as Caesar was making his inroads into Transalpine Gaul, the Rhine, Britain, and Spain in the west, Pompey was undertaking the siege of Jerusalem in 63 BCE. He was abetted in this by internal dissensions within the Maccabean family itself, but also by a half-Arab, Hellenized intermediary by the name of Antipater, the father of Herod. Now, y'all know, because that's right there, I gotta go show the lineage. Hold on. Yeah, I got to go show the lineage. We come right back there. Y'all know I got to show that. I can't even let that slide. That's how they got Roman citizenship. I can't even let that slide. What is it? I know I got it down there somewhere. I think no. That ain't it. Maybe that's it. Nah, that's from last week. Yeah, I told y'all. Yeah, look, I got this deal up. Somebody better tell these young boys that I do this. All right, there it is right there. It's the family tree, the close family of Coastal Boy, B. Antipater, B or Ben, son of Antipater, or boy Antipater, son of whatever. So remember, Antipater is Herod the Great's father. Okay, Antipater saved Sextus Julius Caesar in a war. Because of that, Antipater and all his descendants were eligible for Roman citizenship, including, who was this guy down there? That's a Saul right there. Old Saulus, son of Antipater. Huh? Who is the father of who? Herod. That family tree is right there. Now, don't Paul in the Gospels tell you that he's what? Paul said he was a Herod is his family. Didn't he say that? I think Paul said the Herod was his family, because if I ain't mistaken, I believe he said that was his family. Correct? Let's see. Make sure y'all can see real quick. And then we'll get back to this. Finish it on off. Excuse me, I still be running slow sometimes, fam. Y'all know how it is. Well, let's see. Let's see. This is the blue letter. We're going to pull the blue letter up. We're going to go to quick nav. Quick navigation. All right. We're going to go to Romans. How ironic. It's in Romans 16. 16. We're going to go 16 and what? 11. All right. I don't know why y'all think it's a game. There ain't nobody playing around here. Oh, that's messed up. Put me back to where I was. Yeah, okay. All right, Romans 16 and 11. Now watch this. It's Paul, Saul of Tarsus. Salute Herodian, my kinsman. This is Saul, Paul. All right, if anybody think it's not Paul, hold on. Go back to the beginning of Romans. I think he announced himself. He announced himself in Romans. If not, it's somewhere else. Paul. This is Paul right here, y'all. Paul wrote Romans. All right, Paul. All right. Paul or Paulus. See that? Paul or Paulus, small or little. Paul was the most famous of the apostles. Wow. How's that possible? I wrote a good part of the New Testament, the 14 Pauline epistles. Ooh-wee. Now let's go show you where his name changed from Saul to Paul. Paul and Saul is the same people. Same exact people. And in his chapters, when he converted dude, took his name. Before then, his name was Saul. All right, here he is right here. Look at the Herod and all them in there. Here goes Saul right here. Uh-oh. What's his name?
Strong's G 4569.
Saulus. Shaul, Saul, desired, the Jewish name of the who? The Apostle Paul. Saulus, the Hebrew origin. Huh? Same as G for, what does that say right there? Saulus. Right there. That's him. Saulus. S-A-U-L-U-S, right? Ain't that him? So what's the offense? That's all I'm asking. What's really the offense here? You sing Saulus, didn't you? Who was that right there? That say Saulus, don't it? That's just one problem. This is not an Israelite family tree. It's an Edomite. Herod and them were Edomites. Antipater and them, Herod and them were Edomites. And Arabs and all that mixed together. All right, Saul, Paul the Apostle, is in the family lineage of Herod. Herod and them were Edomites. They weren't even natural Israelites, right? And the proof is Paul's own words. Here they go. Let's get back to it. I'll show you. Ain't no thing. You know what I mean? We love our people, man. It's easy work. Well, now we know that Paul is Saul of Tarsus. That's who he is. All right, in Acts 13, as you keep reading, his name switched to Paul by a cat named Sergius Paulus. He converted him, took his name. All right, but in Romans, the 16th chapter, look at this. Paul wrote Romans 16. All right, look at this right here. 16:11. He's saying, this is Paul, or Saul of Tarsus. He says, salute Herodian, my who? My kinsman. My kinsman. What you mean Herodian? Let's look that up. Let's look that up. All right, root word etymology. Let's go back to the meaning, the root word. Who was the Herods?
Strong's G 2264. Herodes.
There it is right here. Paul is saying, salute the Herodian, my kinsman. Paul is Saul. We done read in Robert Eisenman's book that it was a Herodian family member that invited the Romans into the city named Saul. We got Paul, who is Saul, saying with his own lips, salute Herodian, my kinsman, meaning his family. Then we go show you the family tree of a Saulus or Saul. And he's directly related to Herod. You understand? And Antipater, his father. Now let's go. We clicked on the word for Herodian and went to the root word for it. Look at this. Herod equal heroic. The name of a royal family that flourished among the Jews in the times of Christ and the apostles. Herod the Great was the son of who? Antipater of Idumea. Appointed king of Judea BC 40 by the Roman Senate. So the rebels would have been against him. We against foreign rulership. He was appointed king by the Roman Senate, man. That's crazy. At the suggestion of Antony and with the consent of Octavian. He at length overcame the great opposition which the country made to him and took possession of the kingdom BC 37. And after the battle of Actium, he was confirmed by Octavian, whose favor he ever enjoyed. He was brave and skilled in war, learned and sagacious, but also extremely suspicious and cruel. Hence, he destroyed the entire royal family of Hasmoneans. Salute the real ones, man. Put to death many of the Jews that opposed his government. Those are the Messianics. And proceeded to kill even his dearly beloved wife, Miriam, of the Hasmonean line, and his 2 sons she had borne him. By these acts of bloodshed, especially by his love and imitation of Roman customs and institutions, and by the burdensome taxes imposed upon his subjects, he so alienated the Jews that he was unable to regain their favor by his splendid restoration of the temple and other acts of munificence. He died in the 70th year of his age, 37th year of his reign, the 4th before the Dionysian era. In his closing years, John the Baptist and Christ were born. Matthew narrates that he commanded all the male children under 2 years old in Bethlehem to be slain. So Paul is saying he's related. He's an Herodian. He said that's his kinsman, didn't he? What are we arguing about there? What is there to argue about? That's all I want to know. What are we arguing about? What are we really arguing about here? Go ahead and say it, y'all. Nothing. We ain't arguing about nothing. Exactly. Exactly. Ain't nothing to argue over. I don't know if I still got that one up. Oh, that's a good one too. Post not seen and all that. That ain't the one I'm looking for. Let me see if I got the other one up. There go the family tree. Oh man, here you go. Here you go. Here. Somebody better tell these young boys that I do's this. Credit gang, hey, y'all, just to let y'all know, we with all the shits. We with all of it, man. Whoever want to get these paws put on them, tell them clip up. You pick the topic and platform. We come through and spray it up. If I'm on the panel, it's gonna be bomb fragments left everywhere. That's it. And we up out there. Parallel New Testament. Comparing 3 popular translations in parallel columns. J.W. Etheridge, English translation of the Peshitta, James Murdoch. New Testament translation, Syriac Peshitta, George M. Lamsa. New Testament translation according to the Eastern texts. What we're going to do, y'all, is examine. We're going to examine Romans 16 chapter 11 verse. That's cool with y'all? All right, so right here, so y'all can see, we ain't playing no games. This is Romans 16 and 11. See Romans 16 up here at the top, verse 11 right here. What does this say? What does this say? Look at it. Romans 16 and 11 again. It says, as the peace of Herodian, my who? Relative. Paul is related. He's blood related to the Herodians. He's bloodline related to them. In fact, he got Roman citizenship. Don't make it no better. You dig? All right, let's get back to the actual reading. All right, I can drop this one down. Let me drop the family. Family tree did it for me. I say good night. There it is, right there, boy. All right, let's get back to this. All right, dealing with Herod. Right, dealing with the Herodians. Had to go show it, man, because, man, look, man. All right, what we get? Read right here, right after Pompey sacked Jerusalem. He was abetted, look at this. He was abetted in this by internal dissensions within the Maccabean family itself. So that's one thing we got to learn, y'all, is to stop infighting. And even if we got disagreements, the world don't need to see our disagreements. That's how we always get conquered. That's how Pompey was able to capture Jerusalem in 63 BC. All right. After 100 years of Hasmonean rule, Maccabean rule, Israelite rule, Jerusalem went down before it went down in the 70s. Look at it. He was embedded in this by internal dissensions within the Maccabean family itself, but also by a half-Arab, Hellenized intermediary by the name of Antipater, the father of Herod. And we just showed you that, didn't we? Didn't we just show you Antipater, his son Herod the Great, his family lineage, even Paul is in there, according to his own lips and according to the family tree that we just showed. Bag drop. There's nothing else to talk about. Not only does Antipater successfully ingratiate himself with Pompey and his adjutants, the most well known of whom was Mark Antony, but he ends up as the first Roman procreator in Palestine and the ultimate arbiter of political events there. Mark Antony, who distinguished himself in Palestinian campaigning, ultimately abets Antipater's son Herod in obtaining the Jewish crown. Aided him. Mark Antony, Cleopatra, Mark Antony. I remember sisters used to think Cleopatra was a sister. I said, no, it's a white woman. She a Greek. They ain't even know. Straight Greek. Good as right here. Herod finishes the job of obliterating the Maccabean family. Those he doesn't execute, he marries, but even these he eventually butchers, including his favorite wife, Miriam, the last Maccabean princess. In the aftermath of his trip to Rome to get Octavius to reconfirm the crown, Antony had conferred on him, 29 BCE. In the end, Herod even had his two sons by her, who had been brought up in Rome, put to death. This cat was evil, man. That dude was straight evil, dog. Like, that's crazy. Let me get some page 17. This one. Yep, it's this one. All right, this is the last page. Presumably because he was jealous of their Maccabean blood and because the crown preferred them to him. Yeah, the crown, man. Remember, like, messianic spirit is the spirit of love for your people, man. And total opposition to those trying to Hellenize us and enforce romanticism on us. Totally against it. That's where all that madness come. Be a gentle man. You're such a gentleman. No, I'm not no Gentile man. No, I'm not. No, be nice. As late as the 13th century, nice was a word that meant stupid. Silly. Look it up. Look up the origin of the word nice, Nice. the origin of it or the etymology behind it. It'll blow your mind. Nice originally meant stupid, ignorant, silly. Oh, you're so nice. Oh man. Here, Herod really did kill all the Jewish children who sought to replace him, as Matthew 2:17 would have it. But these were rather his own children with Maccabean blood. This behavior shocked even his Roman sponsors, particularly Augustus, who upheld family values and was, by all reports, very displeased with it. But Herod survived all, got away with everything, including obliterating the Maccabean family and grafting his own family on whatever remained of it. This mostly Idumean Greco-Arab line continued for 3 or more generations until Titus, the man responsible for burning Jerusalem, made off with Bernice. I read about Bernice in the Acts. She was a bed wench, boy. She was a thought. The youngsters call them thoughts today. That was an ancient thought right there. Bernice, look her up, boy. Yeah. She was boning Titus, Vespasian's son, and one of her brothers or something like that. One of them Agrippa cats. Yeah. And look, she's there with Agrippa in the book of Acts, while Paul is in front of them talking about, I wish everybody could be a Christian. He ain't checking nothing they got to do, because when you get down to it, when you study it, those his family members. They are Herodians, right? Meanwhile, a real one, John the Baptist, got in front of Herod and what he was doing and checked the draws off of him and got his head cut off for it. So you tell me who right and who ain't. Paul get in front of the Herodians and say, oh, I wish you all could be Christians except these chains. John the Baptist get in front of the Herodians and say, it ain't lawful for you to be laying with your brother's wife, partner, you going off. And that got his head cut off. Which one is the real one and which one is the fake one? Well, you tell me. Bernice was a wide hip woman. Very loose. Very loose. Look at this right here. It says right here. It says, made off with Bernice, a descendant of this line, as Caesar and Anthony had made off with Cleopatra, one of the last descendants of Alexander's ruling elite before him. Nor does this give any more pleasure to the people of Rome, who do not appear to have withshed to see an Herodian princess as their empress than Caesar's and Anthony's actions had done previously. Bernice's fate is uncertain, but Titus seems to have put her away at some point prior to succeeding his father in 79 CE. Good night. I guess she thought she's finna be the empress, huh? Nah, little mama, you was a hoe. Look at him. Herod also had the last Maccabean high priest, Miriam's younger brother, Jonathan, put to death in 36 BC when he reached the age of majority. Herod's marriage with the last Maccabean princess, Miriam, would appear to have been contracted by her mother, Hyrcanus II's daughter, on the basis that Jonathan would become the high priest on reaching majority. Josephus records the pathetic scene of how, when the boy at 13 years of age donned the high priestly vestments, the Jewish crowd wept when he appeared in the temple. For those who would still cling to the contention that the people considered the Maccabean family usurpers, this should provide vivid testimony to the contrary. Wild with jealousy, Herod then had the boy taken down to his winter palace in Jericho and drowned while he was frolicking in the swimming pool with some of his attendants. He was the last Maccabean high priest, so he drowned his brother-in-law. Look at this. After this, Herod is careful to maintain personal control over the high priestly garments and appoints men, as Josephus himself observes, who were not of eminent families, some hardly priests at all. Once instituted, this was the policy followed by procreators such as Pontius Pilate after him, and kings such as Agrippa I, his brother Herod of Chalcis, and his son Bernice's brother Agrippa II, until the uprising against Rome. At this time, the zealots elected their own high priest. There it is, because the priesthood was compromised. So what you read in the scrolls, the priests and all that you read in the scrolls are not the same priests you read about in the New Testament and in Josephus, even if they both carry the names of Zadok or Sadducee. One is pro-Roman, one is anti-Roman. One is pro-established, one is anti-establishment. See that? Look at this right here. It says, bang, bang, bang. It says, yeah, right here. At this time, the zealots elected their own high priest, a lowly stonecutter of the humblest origins, whom Josephus called Phineas, that is, Phineas. Such were the bloody origins of the Herodian high priest class, tendentiously portrayed in the New Testament as a legitimate chief priest and seducing party of the Jews. Y'all hear this? They was Herodians, man. They was Herodians. So the real Messianics, we had to choose our own. We had to choose our own priests. Yeah. Look at it. At Herod's death, after he had indulged in all the cruelty and brutalities enumerated above, and the total destruction of the national independence of the Jews and their previous royal priest line, revolutionary unrest began in earnest and continued for the next 70 years, boy. Man, salute the real ones. Salute the real ones. Wasn't happening, you know what I mean? This was possibly understood by exegetes like those at Qumran as the 70-year period of wrath mentioned in Daniel the 9th chapter, the 2nd verse. It continued until the outbreak of the war against Rome. Actually, it continued for the next 140 years until Hadrian, look at this, y'all, until Hadrian crushed the second Jewish revolt in 132 to 136 CE. That's Bar Kokhba. And renamed Jerusalem Aelia Capitolonia. How many of y'all knew Jerusalem had been renamed? By Hadrian, actually. Good night. He forbade Jews to enter Jerusalem or even to come within eyesight of it, except once a year to mourn its past glories. During this period, too, descendants of the family of Jesus and his brothers were involved in ongoing messianic agitation and were martyred in their turn. Bag drop, boy. This was a revolutionary movement, a revolution headed by a revolutionary family. He forbade Jews to enter Jerusalem. Right here, it's here. It's saying, during this period, too, descendants of the family of Jesus and his brothers were involved in ongoing messianic agitation and were martyred in their turn. This was the end of the earthbound messianic hopes among the Jews. Hopes that gradually turned more otherworldly, ethereal, or Gnostic. I like that word, ethereal. I don't even think Robert Eisman know what he's saying. Or Gnostic. This is what the imposition of Roman control really meant. Guess what, y'all? Destruction. Destruction. Wait. Somebody mad, but they'll be all right. Somebody mad, but they be all right. Trust me. They be all right. And this is what we're going to next video. Chapter 4. All right. Chapter 4, first century sources mentioned in James, the New Testament, and the we document in Acts. The history verse literature part 3, Nazarene edition part 106, Herodians, Romans, Herodians, and Judean sects. And to erase, to blur all them lines. Let me stop this. To blur all them lines properly, it's either you was with us or against us. That's all it came down to. It ain't come down to nothing else. Either you was with the Messianic bros and them, or you was a collaborator with Rome. That's it. Nothing else mattered. You understand? Nothing else mattered. I'm gonna play this video on the way out, fam. Hey, we getting this work in. Y'all already know. You already know. Let me play the rest of this video. And then while I'm playing the video, I'm going to look for some of them coins that the bros minted for the liberation of Zion. I actually got a book around her that got all the archaeology in it. But I'm gonna try to look for it online and pull it up so everybody can see it clear. All right, I'm gonna play some more of this video, and we're gonna get up out of here. Right on for y'all prayers and y'all support. Y'all remember, keep the sister Samaria Roel in our prayers. You understand? Let's send forth massive healing vortices into the mind, body, and spirit of our sister. Let's get her healed. Sister, if you're listening, we're praying for you. Also, it's just time to come on home, get them full body detoxes, and start building up this immune system and changing diets and all that, because we in a time of plagues, we in a time of epidemics. We can't even afford to have our stuff compromised. You dig? Well, y'all make sure y'all keep her in y'all prayers as well. Let me go ahead. Matter of fact, I'm gonna play this right here. And sister, if you listening, rejoice and believe. We gonna get past this and be laughing like, yeah, man. Yeah. Creator is truly marvelous. So I'm gonna play this real quick, fam. I'm gonna look for that. I'm gonna look for some of those coins that the Messianic Revolutionary Brothers was coining and minting back in the day. You dig? And then show that and then get up out of here. I love y'all indeed and in truth. Bless up. All right, let's work. Let's work.
Is the most Jewish thing I can do. I mean, to have a close relationship.
My bad, fam. Do it like this.
Titus Flavius Vespasianus was born on November 17th, 9 AD, in Italy. His son has the exact same name as him. He has another son named Domitian. Both of his sons were the emperor of Rome following his death. He died in the year 79 AD. He was high priest of Rome, also known as Pontifex Maximus, which is now the Pope. He founded the Flavian dynasty. Constantine, who made Christianity the state religion of Rome, took on the name Flavius as well. Vespasian was the first emperor from an equestrian family and only rose into the senatorial ranks as the first member of his family later in his lifetime. Vespasian's renown came from his military success. He was legate legio to Augusta during the Roman invasion of Britain in 43 and subjugated Judea during the Jewish rebellion in 66 under Nero. One time during Nero's reign, Nero was having a concert where he was putting on a show and being the singer and actor. And he was on his show for hours. He would do this. He would have these psychopathic moments where he would try to impress everybody. Vespasian started to nod off because he was bored. He was trying to fall asleep. Would have been dead on the spot. Because Vespasian was the highest ranking military leader, and he needed Vespasian to run the army and to go in Judea, he couldn't do anything about it. So instead, he made him leave Rome. After all, Vespasian subdued all of Gaul and most of northern Africa with the help of Nerva. So Nero couldn't do anything about Vespasian, even if he wanted to. Sure enough, the eastern part of the empire is starting to fall into war. The Judeans are revolting, so are the Syrians and the Galileans, and Vespasian is called out of exile to go and subdue the Jews. So Vespasian and his son Titus go and subdue Syria and Galilee. And just as Vespasian is going to make his way down to Jerusalem, he gets a letter from a Jew living in Jerusalem named Johanan, who's the high priest of the Jews. Now Johanan wants to meet him and talk to him and discuss plans and make a deal, in which Vespasian agrees. So Johanan has to sneak out of Jerusalem. The Sicarii were controlling Israel at this time, especially Jerusalem, and they were definitely controlling Egypt too. The high priest couldn't even do anything or go anywhere without hearing from them first. And all the problems that are happening are because of these Sicarii. The Sicarii are these Jewish rebels, extremely fundamentalists religiously, and they think that it's Messiah is coming, and the Messiah is going to save them from Rome. Israel's going to establish the kingdom of heaven. And the high priest Yohanan is more of a moderate when it comes to his ideas. He knows this is all wacky. And he knows that all these problems that are stemming from these Sicarii could be squashed if he makes a deal with Vespasian. Nero has already been assassinated. Galba has already taken over. He's been assassinated. Otho also has been assassinated. 3 emperors are now down. And we have a 4th emperor now, Vitellius, who is emperor of Rome. And that makes Vespasian the next in line to be emperor. But he doesn't think anything of it. He's just going to do what he's told and be the military commander that he's supposed to be. So here we got the Talmud. It gives us a brief description of the meeting between Vespasian and high priest Yohanan. So he goes and meets Yohanan. He's got his son there, and Yohanan has to sneak out of Israel. He has to pretend he's a dead body. So in the 3rd order of Nashim, in the 6th tractate called Gizon, there's an interesting verse from Rabbi Yohanan where he talks about Nero and says that he shot an arrow in every direction, north, south, east, west, and every time the arrow landed, it pointed towards Jerusalem. And they were basically saying this was some sort of prophecy of the fall of Jerusalem. Fast forward a little bit, Nero's dead. Three emperors later, Vespasian is about to siege. He's got his son Titus with him. He's got armies from Galilee with him. There were zealots in the city, also known as the Sicarii. So the rabbis said, let us make peace with the Romans. And the zealots wouldn't let them. Rather, they say, let us make war against them. The rabbi said, it will not work. So the zealots went and set fire to the stores of wheat and barley, causing a famine. The father of Sicarii, leader of the zealots, was the son of Rabban Yohan ben Zakki's sister. Yohanan sent for him to come in secret. When he arrived, Yohanan said to him, how long are you going to carry on like this and kill everyone by famine? Father Sicarii replied, what can I do? If I say anything, my followers will kill me. Yohanan said, if only I can get out of Jerusalem, I might be able to have something, to save something. Father Sicarii said, put about a rumor that you are sick, and let people come and inquire about you. Then fetch some decaying material, spread it over you, and have it say that you have died. Let your disciples carry you, but no one else, since they might notice that a living body is lighter than a corpse. He did so. Rabbi Eliezer bore him on one side, and Rabbi Joshua on the other. When they arrived at the gate, the zealots on guard wanted to pierce the buyer with a sword. The disciples objected. The Romans will say they pierced their master. The zealots then wanted to jostle the buyer. The disciples objected. The Romans will say they jostled the master. They opened the gate. The plan worked. When Rabbi Yohanan arrived in Vespasian's presence, he said, hail, O king, hail, O king. Vespasian said, you are deserving of death on 2 counts. First, I am not the king, and you have addressed me as king. Second, if I were the king, why did you not come and pay your respects earlier? The typical Roman emperor psychopath. So Yohanan says, you say that you are not king, but you certainly are king. For if you were not king, Jerusalem could fall into your hands, as it is written. The Lebanon shall fall by a mighty one, Isaiah 10:34. A mighty one implies a king, as it is written. His mighty one shall be of his own, Jeremiah 31. Lebanon refers to the temple, as it is written. The good mountain and the Lebanon, Deuteronomy 3:25. As to your asking if you were king, why did I not come and pay my respects earlier? That is because the zealots among us would not let me come until now. So Vespasian is kind of sitting there thinking deeply of how to respond to this. He's the wise. He wants to, he's trying to show these Jews. He knows these Jews are wise. He's read the scripture. He has the Greek Septuagint. He actually is very fond of them, by the way. Based on other historians' accounts, Vespasian is in love with the Jewish lore. So he says, if you had a barrel of honey and a snake was after it, would you not smash the barrel and get rid of the snake? Rabbi Yohanan fell silent. Rabbi Yosef, or perhaps Rabbi Akiva, commented, who turns sages back and make nonsense of their knowledge? Isaiah 44. He should have said, we fetch tongs, seize the snake and kill it, and leave the barrel unharmed. Meanwhile, at this very moment, this is where shit gets crazy. A messenger came from Rome and said, arise, Caesar is dead, and the great men of Rome want to make you leader. It was at that exact moment when Vespasian got the news that he is now the Caesar of Rome, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the King of the world. Vespasian has all power to do whatever he wants at that moment while he's talking to Rabbi John. So Vespasian had put on one boot. He wanted to put the other one on, but it wouldn't fit. He tried to remove the first, but it wouldn't come off. He said, "What is going on?" Yohanan said, "Don't worry. We have received good news, as it is written. Good news puts on fat on the bones." Proverbs 15:30. The word in Greek used here would be evangelion, good news. Vespasian says, "So what should I do?" Yohanan says, "Bring someone you dislike and let him pass before you, as it is written. Despondency dries up the bones." Proverbs 17:22. Vespasian did as advised, and it worked. "Vespasian, as you are so clever, why did you not come to me until now?" Yohanan says, "Didn't I tell you?" Vespasian says, "And didn't I tell you? Anyway, I am leaving now, and I will send someone else to continue the siege. My only son, Titus Flavius Vespasian, the same name as me, who's coming in the name of his father, who sent him. What would you like me to grant you?" Yohanan says, "Give me Yavne and its sages, spare the family of Rabban Gamaliel, and provide doctors of Rabbi Zadok." Interesting enough, Rabbi Gamaliel is supposed to be the teacher of Paul, which I think is very interesting, that this is all kind of ties itself into each other. It makes it super compelling, this whole story right here. Because all of these prophecies that they're saying are for Vespasian, later on Christians say are for Jesus Christ. But here, in the moment, these rabbis are saying that these prophecies are for Vespasian, whose son takes on the will of his father and inherits the kingdom. So this was some sort of divine moment for Vespasian, and he kind of looks at the Jews now as important prophets. And I think this made him more aware of who the presence of the Jews are. I think it made him inquire more into their scripture. And he takes Josephus as a slave and brings him back to Rome. He tells Josephus that I want the Jewish history, I want your history of the world to replace the Greek history of the world. So no longer is Solon and Minos the lawgivers. No longer is Kronos the Father God. But no, it is the Elohim, Jehovah, who is the Father God now. And it was also in the same exact time period where the Oracle of Delphi proclaimed that the great Pan is dead, which is Jupiter. So now we're seeing the Roman imperial cult starting to adopt these foreign deities with Mithra, but Serapis is becoming the chief deity of the Romans, of the Roman imperial cult. Serapis and Isis. Serapis is Osiris and Apis, the bull, combined into one god. He's an amalgamation of many gods. He actually was invented under successors of Alexander the Great, who identified him as Father Libre or Pater Liber. And Alexander the Great was actually, his tomb was actually in the house of Serapis in Egypt. So right after this happened, Titus takes over the role of his father, and he's the one who lays siege on Jerusalem, does what his father's will. But Vespasian goes to Egypt before he goes back to Rome. This is what happens in Egypt. During the next month, Vespasian spent at Alexandria, waiting for the regular season of the summer winds to ensure a safe voyage back to Rome. There occurred many miraculous events, manifesting the goodwill of heaven and a certain favor of providence towards him. At Alexandria, a commoner whose eyes were well known to have wasted away on the advice of Serapis, who the superstitious people, known as the Christians, worship as their chief god, fell at Vespasian's feet, demanding the sobs of a cure for his blindness and imploring that the emperor would deign to moisten his eyes and eyeballs with the spittle from his mouth. Another man, maimed hand, also inspired by Serapis, besought Vespasian to imprint his footmark on it. So these people who are later actually identified as Christians, according to the Augusta, they have so much faith in Serapis, who they think that Vespasian is the Messiah of Serapis, the mediator between Serapis and the men. He's the son of man in a way. So they have all this. They have so much faith that they think that Vespasian can heal their blindness and sickness, and some of them actually he was successful. At first, Vespasian laughed at them and refused, but they insisted. He half feared a reputation for gullibility, but was half moved to hope by their petition and their flattery of his courtiers. He eventually told the doctors to form an opinion whether such cases of blindness and deformity could be remedied by human aid. The doctor discussed the question. This might be the will of heaven, and the emperor had perhaps been chosen to be the divine instrument. This convinced Vespasian that there was no limits to his destiny. Nothing now seemed incredible. To the great excitement of the bystanders, he stepped forward with a smile on his face and did as the men desired him. Immediately the hand recovered its function, and daylight shone once more in the blind man's eyes. Those who were present still attest both miracles today, when there is nothing to gain by lying. This occurrence deepened Vespasian's desire to visit the holy place and consult Serapis about the fortunes of the empire. He gave orders that no one else to be allowed in the temple, and went in. While absorbed in the devotions, he saw behind him an Egyptian noble named Basilides, who he knew to be lying ill several days' journey from Alexandria. He inquired of the priest whether Basilides had entered the temple that day. He inquired of everyone he met whether he had been seen in the city. Eventually, he sent some horsemen who discovered that the time Basilides had been 80 miles away. Vespasian therefore took what he had seen for a divine apparition, and from the name Basilides deduced the tenor of the oracle's response. The origins of the god Serapis have not been conveyed in any authorities. The priests of Egypt give the following account of King Ptolemy, first of the Macedonians under Alexander the Great. So there you have it. Vespasian, who is told by the Jews that he's the coming Messiah. He's going to save Jerusalem from the evil, wicked Sicarii. It's sort of an inverse of the New Testament, because in the New Testament, it's the zealots who are against the Pharisees, and they sort of, in a weird way, welcome the Romans to take down the temple. So there's definitely some connections here, and it's something I'm going to further investigate. Titus Caesar ends up fulfilling all that is prophesied about the fall of the temple. His brother also is emperor for a few years after that, and then later on, Constantine takes on the Flavian name, and he's the one who establishes Christianity as the state religion. Later on, Vespasian and Titus have a triumph in Rome, where they show the menorah, the tabernacle, and they show it off as the prize of the war against Judea. Right around the late 1st century and early 2nd century, people start talking about the Christians. We got Tacitus, who has his account of the fire burning in Rome. People assume that these are the Christians that we know about today, following Jesus Christ. And it could be true. However, there's other sources of Christians that come from Serapis, who we just talked about. Here's a connection between Serapis and Christ. This is a quote from a Roman historian in the Augusta. He says to Servianus under the Emperor Hadrian, "The land of Egypt, the praises of which you have been recounting to me, my dear Servianus, I have found to be wholly light-minded, unstable, and blown about by every breath of rumor. There are those who worship Serapis are in fact Christians, and those who call themselves bishops of Christ are in fact devotees of Serapis. There is no chief of the Jewish synagogue, no Samaritan, no Christian presbyter, who is not an astrologer, a soothsayer, or an anointer. Even the patriarch himself, when comes to Egypt, is forced by some to worship Serapis, by others to worship Christ." So here we have a direct connection between Serapis worship, the Roman imperial cult, Judaism, and Christianity. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.
Oh way, oh way, oh way, oh way, oh way, oh way, oh way. All right, my last thing is this right here. Let me show this to y'all. I'm up out of here, all right? I just got to do entire screen. And click on that slab. All right, so this is what I got to show y'all right here. All right, so it's an easy search for the liberation of Zion ancient coins. Will come up right here. You can go to this link too. All right, for the freedom of Zion. Declared the Hebrew inscription on the ancient bronze coins found in a cave that had been sealed for what? 2,000 years, first century. Ironically, just in time for the festival of freedom. Look at that right there. I'm saying, like, they was revolution. They minted their own money. How the hell you going to war? Talking about some you in a revolutionary war. How is you going to war borrowing the money of the oppressor? Them brothers understood the principles of revolution. This shows you that it was a highly sophisticated movement as well. It was highly sophisticated. These brothers were printing their own money and all that. They had knowledge of law on a whole nother level. You know what I mean? Whole nother level. If these brothers were printing their own money. Like, look, we ain't even using their money. You understand? They was on a whole different level. Every movement you talk about in the United States of America for liberation and freedom of oppressed folks has to do with the oppressor's money. It ain't going nowhere unless it's finance. Well, these brothers took that to a whole nother level and was like, we print our own money. We minting our own money. Here's the article. Here's the article. Treasure trove of ancient coins found with a telling message. Post the article. Post the article out here too so y'all can have it. Yeah, I'm gonna get on up out of here. Just want to get on here and chop it up with fam a little taste. Let me post this real quick. All right. That's that right there. All right, so that's the article right there, family. Please forgive me. Let's go ahead and read this. Treasure trove of ancient coins found with a telling message. All right, we on oneforisrael.org. All right, right there. Zoom in. Like I'm reading off the screen, watching somebody's video. You can't even see it. Nigga, zoom in. Look at it. For the freedom of Zion, declared the Hebrew inscription on the ancient bronze coins found in the cave that had been sealed for 2,000 years. Ironically, just in time for the festival of freedom. Hebrew University archaeologist Eliot Mazar came across a cave full of treasures during excavations below the Temple Mount southern wall, and close by, seals from King Hezekiah and possibly Isaiah the prophet have been found. Look at this. Treasure cave. The cave unearthed in the Ophel dig in Jerusalem contained coins with inscriptions that help us to precisely, based off the inscriptions, to precisely date them to the years 66 to 70 AD or CE, Common Era. So what we reading in the Dead Sea Scrolls and we read in Robert Eisenman's book and what I just showed you, you understand? All of it's linking up. Again, history versus literature. You look at it with a historical lens, it's different. The whole narrative is different. Look at this. But along with the optimistic message on the coins minted by the who? The rebels. The rebels. We now know they were the messianic revolutionaries that wasn't going for it, but they're called the rebels or the zealots or the Sicarii in history. What if those are the messianics and everybody else was anti? What if the leaders of that movement was who we call the Messiah's biological family? Where we at now? Where we at now? At this, true about this. The rebels who were fighting for freedom towards the end of the Second Temple era were later coins with a different message. At first, the Jewish zealots, now we zealots, rebels, zealots. Like today, we thugs and gangbangers and gang members. Look what Rome was doing even back then. Rebels, zealots. Look at this. At first, the Judean zealots were certain they'd win their country back from the Roman conquerors. But the coins dated 70 AD, but the coins dated 70 AD that were found in the same cave carried a different rallying cry for the redemption of Zion. By the last year of the rebellion, it had become obvious that their resistance was not going to survive for long, and that the best they could hope for was the eventual redemption of Zion. Right? Talking to Haaretz newspaper, Mazar reported that the coins were about 1.5 centimeters in diameter, with Hebrew and Jewish, with Hebrew symbols such as the 4 species mentioned in the Bible, palm, myrtle, citron, and willow, along with a goblet believed to have been used in temple worship. The floor of the cave was a thick layer dating to the Hasmonean period, going by characteristic pottery and coins. That later lasted through the days of King Herod, but not later, Mazar explained. It was quite large, being some 7 meters by 14, but there was no evidence that people were living in it. A likely scenario is that the rebels were stockpiling things in the cave for their future use, including ceramic cookware and other pottery, as well as the coins, but never did use it. That's wild. It was not long after those last coins were minted that Jerusalem was what? Destroyed, just as Jesus said it would be. Jesus came out from the temple and was going away when his disciples came up to point out the temple buildings to him, and he said, "Do you not see all these things? Truly I say to you, not one stone here will be left upon another, which will not be torn down." Matthew 24, 1-2. What if all that was written after the war? That's the crazy part. That's a whole nother topic, though. We are in the happy position to know that Zion has indeed finally been restored 2,000 years after its destruction. Stop it. All right. But look at this. And the discovery of the cave's contents on Israel's 70th year, just 50 years since Jerusalem was reunited, is also pretty amazing. But we still yearn for the full spiritual redemption of Zion. But look at that, though, y'all. So the coins. Real thing this. Man, but look. All praises, all glory, all honor to the Creator, the all in all, the ever present, the always was, is, and ever shall be, the I am that I am, the all knowing, the all powerful, the omnipotent, the omnipresent. If I gotta conceptualize created and put a name on created, Almighty Yah. Anything less than that, then hey, whatever. I'm dealing with creator, man. All praise to the creator. I salute all the brothers and sisters who have come before me in this long line of light, long line of succession. I salute you all. Shout out to the haters, jaw jackers, and naysayers. I salute you all in the name of the creator, the master of light, the all in all, the ever present. I pray for y'all as y'all continue to pray for me. Right on for the prayers, right on for the support. Y'all see what we're going to be going over next. You dig? History versus Literature, Nazarene edition, part 106. History versus Literature, part 3. Romans, Herodians, and Judean Sects. Ooh-wee, strap up a backup, clip up, create a gang. Yahoo.